would you care to lead us in prayer this morning?
Father God, I just thank you so much for this opportunity that we have to be here today, and thank you for the country that we live in. And I ask you, Father, just to continue to guide and direct all of us and help us as we just try our very best to make the best decisions for our community. Father, I ask you to be with the commissioners and all of the officials that are involved in those decisions, and we just bless you and ask that you bless our county. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. If you haven't signed up, sign up sheet over there. Try to get through here and get everybody out as quick as possible this morning. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You guys had a chance to take a look at those this morning.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion by Bob.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Bob to approve the minutes, a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And in the matter of claims, and I'm gonna stop right there and let Jim elaborate a little bit. We've got some stuff there in general fund, a couple other questions.
Okay, Commissioners, and I do want to be cognizant of the fact there's a big agenda, but there's a couple of things that need to come to your attention on claims. The total amount of claims on the docket is $116,350.68. That would fall into a low to medium number of claims. The sum of the out-of-cycle claims also were $31,000. It was brought to my attention though that there were two very substantial claims amounts in the range of $210,000 out-of-cycle. That combines the general liability, and that combines not an out-of-cycle claim, so I want to be clear on that, but the amount deducted out of general for the group insurance, that all comes out of lit edit. So the reason I'm prefacing all of this is lit edit at one time looked like it was $732,000. That would have been a substantial balance, and that would have been the balance to take us through the end of the year. However, with $210,000 being roughly deducted out of cycle or expended to group insurance, that's dropped that down to $522. So then when you take the $54,000 of the claims that are expected out of here, we're getting into the $400,000 range. So put that in, I don't know, just some type of code. So you had say you had a red light, so green light, everything looks good. I'd say that'd be the $700,000 that doesn't exist now. Yellow light is obviously caution. Red means stop. Well, we're not in red, so there's an old driving term, like when you go through a light, it's kind of yellow, but it's kind of red, and they say it's pink. I think that's kind of the best way to describe where we're at on lit edit. I would definitely use caution of anything to be looking at the lit edit now this next 30 days. It would be my recommendation that if any out-of-cycle claim has to be paid between November 1st and November 30th, it be brought to the attention of one of the commissioners or your designee, just for awareness. Again, we're not talking about not paying claims, but just being able to be prepared out to the end of the year, because it is not 732 in lit. It's not 522, it's actually in the 400,000 now. That would be the lowest that lit's ever been. But that was expected. So I don't want to overstate, but I do not want to understate. We're in an area now to get through these last 30 days that everything's going to have to be looked at. But those costs were substantial. We'll bring this to the attention of the council on the 8th so they can also prepare and act accordingly. But I think that's a crucial thing. There is a claim out of general fund out of $1,000 for $903.45. That cash balance has a deficit in it. Obviously, we would well know that. And then the only other two funds that show a cash balance deficit are your grants of $91.61 and $91.67. Both of those have negative balances, but those are reimbursement grants. So that's the general. There's obviously the good news. Let's leave it on that. There's money, obviously. Payroll is paid. There's no problem with that. Every vendor has been paid. There's not one bill that's not been paid. There is money to pay but we're getting into these numbers now of 400, 300,000, and this is a new territory, this is a new ground. Lead Edit is only reimbursed, gives a receipt of $105,000. Of that, roughly $21,000 must go by statute to the town of Spencer and Gosport. So there's only roughly in that range of 84,000 coming in November and coming in December, and we're getting more into the cash balances in that area that at least prudently needs to be cautioned. So again, keeping my usual trend of repeating myself, I would absolutely recommend for these next 30 days, if there's any out-of-cycle claims, that there be notification to the commissioners first, just so we can kind of do a planning and be aware of what's going on.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
So, like on the insurance, as payroll is processed every 2 weeks, that's an automatic deduction. Do we continue doing it? I mean, I can inform you that we know that every 2 weeks, when payroll hits, that there's gonna be additional insurances. The liability, yes, it was a big one, and all the other out of cycles. Do you want me bringing the utilities, everything to you?
Utilities are things that we cannot do anything about. The insurance situation, where we've got vendors involved that I can call and say, hey, we need to hold off on this until December the 15th when the settlement's put in to see where we're at. We need those opportunities, and I'm sure that those people will work with us. Most of them I've dealt with in the past. Same thing with liability insurance. Instead of paying that last payment, we probably could have negotiated and held on to that until after the settlement came in. Obviously, it's too late now, but I know most of these people are willing to work with us, so please give me a call or call one of these guys. I have no problem calling any of these vendors and extending that term just a little bit. We're so close. It's a pretty easy problem to deal with if we get the call.
Okay, on the liability one, again, the July bills had came in. They were holding him, said to hold him. We were trying to figure out which portions were to each departments, because some, like, they reduced in the highway, those kinds of things. So those, when that one came in, again, it came in as a past due, and then the very next day, the next round had came in. I had sent an email to Jim and asked, what do we do, basically, and had asked if we could hold them and to check with them. And I checked with that Jackie, and the bills were here, and they were due December the 8th, so getting them in the cycles, and it's part of the normal out of cycle. So it's the only reason I went ahead and did it was because it's part of the normal out of cycle and the bills had been received. So I'll start calling and checking on everything.
Again, utilities and things like that are different than dealing directly with the vendors, so we've got a little bit more flexibility there. Still on claims, we have a total of 216,900 roughly out of cycle claims as well, on top of the 116. So just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. We've got those as well to approve. With all that being said, do I hear a motion to approve claims for 11/1/2021?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a second by Bob. All in favor? Aye. Kenny, if you want to go ahead and come on up, we'll get you started here.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well this morning.
Good.
Okay, I'll start out with, I made a request of maybe contracting with Tyler to do some more work. I have some quotes. I would request a little more time to go over them and make sure that they work or don't work, whatever. And the position that I've got advertised for, which would be one or the other, I've got 20 resumes, but I need time to do more research on them.
Sure,
So what I'm actually requesting is because Tyler said if we went with them, they would just blend the extra work into the new contract.
okay.
It'd be a different price, but,
So the contract that we have here before us today really wouldn't be correct until that, okay,
no, it wouldn't be the correct thing.
okay,
And what I'm requesting is a table for 2 weeks to give me time to do research on the resumes and the proposed contract.
okay. And you and I spoke about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago. The additional work by Tyler, if you do not replace that person, would be no more than what that employee's wages and
Yeah,
benefits
it
would
seems,
be.
and that's where I've got to verify a couple figures, make sure that we're talking about 4-year contract and not 1 year, because 1 year it's way out of line, and 4 year it's pretty good.
Puts it into perspective,
Yeah.
okay. Well, at the recommendation of Mr. Anderson, I recommend that we table this. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion, we table this 2 weeks.
2 weeks, so until your next meeting,
Till the 15th meeting,
yeah, when,
and that's gonna be a long one, Kenny, so you may wanna bring a pillow.
okay.
I'll second.
Okay, a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, I have one more thing.
Okay,
Real quick. In the last year, I've lost 3 people, 2 positions. And they're supposedly letting me fill one of the positions, but I really need the other position. It just,
well, the one position that I'm aware of, you just recently lost John, and as we talked before,
the other
if-
one was Chris Breeden.
Right.
Quit back in June during the hiring freeze.
and I would say that you go to the council and ask them that question, because that falls under their authority,
Okay.
with pay. So, the one is no problem, we've already discussed that. Again, that position was there, but even when the freeze had went on, again, that person left, and you should be able to replace them, that's my opinion, but that doesn't mean a whole lot right now, so.
And, the problem is, we can't hire somebody that's trained, we're gonna have to spend the time to train them, so
Right.
that's.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot, because you had people that had training for 3-4 years, whatever it might be, and you're starting from scratch, so. But I would recommend it.
Someone wouldn't know an open brain porch from a syringe,
Yeah,
so,
okay,
thank you.
thank you, Kenny. I'm going to move CASA up here. We didn't have them on the agenda, but I think they were on there previously, or were supposed to have been on there this morning and didn't get put on there. And I think we can knock this out pretty quick. And if you don't care, I'll address these questions that you have here in front of us, and there's absolutely nothing here we can't take care of.
Okay, so I want to first of all thank you all for considering this in-kind contribution, because what that does is no outlay, especially ones that are no outlay to the county at all financially. That just bumps up what we will receive possibly as match from state. So any little bit above that 7,000 that you all have agreed to is going to be wonderful. So before you start, I did want to tell you that if you want to look at your paper, the ones that are no cost to the county would be the first 2, then you skip the next 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the next 5 would be at no cost. So there are 1, 2, 3 that would have a cost outlay to the county, the rest would not.
Would you highlight those 3 that have cost? Can you do that?
Yes, the one that have cost would be to provide a phone for CASA, a cell phone for the director for CASA. I'm actually providing that myself to CASA and also providing internet to CASA personally.
Okay,
So the second one would be a hotspot at home where my office is for internet use, but it's not feasible because where I live, the only service I get is Verizon right now. There's no RUC out there yet. And you all aren't on Verizon, is my understanding, the county's not on.
AT&T, I think, is where,
Yeah.
yep.
And AT&T does not come in out there where I live. The other one is provide a backup terabyte drive. That one would cost money and it would be around $100 for something like that, for a secondary backup to all of our CASA data, or county access to the cloud for CASA documents, which I don't know if that would cost the county.
And I can get IT involved in that.
Yes.
We already have them under contract for the service that they provide, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and so if we wanna start at the beginning, at the first one, if there were a parking space designated for CASA out here in the lot at the courthouse, that could possibly be considered for in-kind. That's what that M is maybe. I have talked to state CASA about what will work for additional grant money to come to us, matching grant money to come to us. So that's a maybe, that they
Okay.
would do that.
Can we stop on that one just real quick?
Sure,
Since Sam's sitting here.
Yeah.
And we've had these discussions 1,000 times, I think, about these parking spots. There is no assigned parking out there, is that correct? Okay. So,
Well, wait a minute, let's back.
other than the sheriff, 2 vehicles I'm aware of.
I need to, before I answer you here, I think years ago that they did assign like so many to probation and so many to the judge, so
Right.
I'm gonna have to back up on that and say, I think years ago they did assign parking places.
I just know that in the 3 years I've been here, that's what I've been told, that there is no assigned parking out there. People have just parked in the same spot and that's where they park type of thing.
When we first put them up, of course, it's been a day or two, I think every department head put in how many people they had. Then the commissioner divided up, gave so many probation, I think, and so many to the judge. And the assessor's office, and the auditor's office, I believe that's what it was, so I don't.
We'll look into it. I've not seen a resolution or an ordinance on it. Have you, Jim,
Well,
anyway?
there was one when you looked at, it was under the building security. This came up, this was 2.5 years ago. And at that point, there was an assigned name to each of the parking spots. For example, what brought my attention, the 2 judges each had a number, and that was public. And the building security plan, and then there was a Indiana State Supreme Court rule that said that, do not do that. So the way it was left was that who has been assigned, say parking 1, 2, and 3, that is no longer public knowledge. All right, so that, it still exists. It has not been looked at for years. I don't know the fact that it exists, whether anyone even follows it, but there was at least 2.5 years ago an assigned parking lot of probation. The reason it was not made public was because of building security. Idea that they didn't want someone to know in this particular parking space, this is where this person parks, so we'll just wait for them to come to the car.
Right.
But it was never rescinded. I think it's probably the main point, no one has ever rescinded that there's no assigned parking. It's just no longer private and it may no longer be followed.
And we did assign, for the offices that had money that was going to banks and so on and so forth, they had assigned areas, so the security knew, when they was leaving, what they needed to do, just in case there was any. But it's not public knowledge, it should
Right.
never be public knowledge for anybody's part.
And it makes sense to protect those people, for sure. So that's why I brought it up, because there's been a huge discussion of whether there is or isn't.
CASA would never want to step on anybody's toes or park in somebody's spot that was, their designated spot. And that would be just one for my use or my staff advocates if they were coming to court to utilize too. So CASA in general, one parking
Okay.
space. And if that can't be done, if those spaces are all spoken for, that's fine. I mean, that's just a
We'll work on
thought that I had come up, that I came up with.
Okay.
Adding CASA to the unlimited Zoom County court account, I think that's kind of a minimal cost. However, right now, CASA does not buy Zoom. So I'm limited on Zoom meetings and hearings and things like that to 30 to 40 minutes if I'm initiating those meetings. If the court is initiating them, it's unlimited for me
Right.
because they send you a link and so forth. So that is a little, another idea to kind of bump up if possible. And that would be, of course, subject to the court wanting us to be on that,
Right,
okay?
okay,
The next thing is, the phone for the director, that would cost, hotspot is, you can mark that out, that's not feasible. Provide CASA a printer or give access to a color printer for CASA printing. If you've got an old printer,
we do have some when we just
and
recently.
if the county would give that to CASA, then y'all can assess what dollar value that would be. Every little bit helps.
And we could do that by making that option for a surplus, and then you take the option of taking that,
Yes.
and that fixes that problem.
So that would be something that a value could be assigned to, like just the general value of the cost of a printer kind of thing. The other thing is that IT service is already available for CASA. I am on the county IT, if you will, so I'm monitored, my laptop, the security standpoint and everything. And then if I have questions, I will call Mike and.
Do you need
ask him.
access to the county website to make changes or to put any information on?
I can talk with him about that, on whether that would be
Because
helpful.
it's
That might be
possible.
helpful on our page, our CASA page on the website.
That's what I was
That
talking
might
about.
be, to have admin rights for that page only.
I can get that for
Okay,
you.
great, that would be super. So the IT service is already being used for CASA. Assess like a monthly value to that, and that can bump up our, what is that value-wise to CASA to be able to have that per month? And that's a maybe with state, the state would consider that.
Okay,
For that, toward that grant. If you have out of surplus laptops laying around that are usable, I have 2 staff advocates. If you could give 2 of those to CASA, then they could use those at home. They're using
we do
their
have some
personal
backups
computers.
down there,
Yeah,
so,
they're using their personal computers, so that would be a help, and a value could be assigned to that. Again, I think I had provided a printer on here twice. This is a biggie. Access and use of the council commissioner room here for CASA trainings or meetings when this room is not being in use by somebody else. And I figure, just as an estimate off the top of my head, that might even be like a value of $100 a month or $1,200. That alone, would bump up what we would get possibly from the
Sure.
match grant, additional from the match grant. Then provide a backup terabyte drive or county access to the cloud for all CASA documents. That's something you might think about. It's a cost to the county, and any of these things that are a cost to the county, like the printer, the laptop, a new terabyte drive, for example. The printer and laptop wouldn't be a cost, but a new terabyte drive, I have factored into equipment in our CASA fund that we could purchase those out of CASA. But this would keep us from having to utilize the money out of the CASA fund and would bump up our matching grant.
Sure.
possibly. So at the bottom, I show you that state said they would generally allow 15% of in kind. So for the year 2022, that would be $3,223.50 would be up to 15% total that we could get additional if we, somewhere up in there. Under special circumstances, they will do 25%. I don't think this is a real special circumstance, so I'm not asking them for that, and then we're more likely to get up to the 15%.
okay,
Now, in 2022, we are being offered a total of $21,490 for the state matching grant. The council and commissioners have approved $7,000 to be matched, and that is out of the court fund toward my salary for next year, and then the remainder of my salary will come out of the CASA fund for
Okay.
next year. So that's where we are right now, but anything above that $7,000 that we could get in kind would just be a help to CASA.
sure. And I think that we can do that between myself and Sheila. We can get some cost figures
Okay,
on
now,
this.
the only issue really is that my matching grant application is due to state this Friday, November 5th. I have talked to Anton Neff, I will talk to Andy as well, and I've talked to state. So if you all do agree, because the council meeting is not until after that date.
Right,
If you all do agree, then Anton suggested I draw up a letter with what your guys' final figures would be that would be allowable, and then bring it before you to sign. Gary, you're president, and the commissioners, have you sign it, have Andy sign it, and then that letter can go in after the application.
okay.
But I do have to turn in my application itself still by November 5th.
And I'll do my best to get cost
Okay,
as soon as possible for you here.
all right, thank you guys very
Thank
much
you.
for listening.
I'll go to work
Appreciate
on it for you.
All right,
Have a good day.
you too.
I want to lose my list. Okay, new business, Diane. Come on up.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am here to talk about a few things with the treasurer's office. I talked with the attorney on October the 13th about having a resolution or an ordinance that we would need to mobile homes and property clearance permits, not doing them after 3:30, because it includes not only our office, but one office or two other offices. And if they come in at certain times, they can't complete the process.
So are you going to, so you're wanting to close your office at 3:30, is that what you're getting at here? Okay,
No, we're just not gonna do these permits after 3:30.
okay,
We're open till 4,
okay,
because the process can't always be completed because of the two other offices that they have to deal with. By the time they go there and come back to us, if they come in beyond 3:30, it may not be able to be.
you're still gonna accept these 5 days a week, but just,
Yeah,
okay. Okay. And Jim, you've already spoke to her on this, you've got it put together, okay, go right ahead.
Did you get a copy?
I did not get a copy of that one. No.
Well, we did make one change, we made 2:30, so just on yours, if you would just, write in 3:30, and then I'll go ahead and read it. Okay, this is a this is a resolution, Sheila, so what on our resolution?
27.
27, okay. This is resolution number 2021-27, a resolution establishing a cutoff time for the Owen County Treasurer to receive mobile home and property tax clearance permits. Whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36.2.10.4, the treasurer shall keep the treasurer's office in a building provided by the county seat of the county executive. The treasurer shall keep the treasurer's office open for business during regular hours every day except on Sundays and legal holidays. However, the treasurer may close the treasurer's office on days specified by the county executive according to the custom and practice of the county. And whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36.2.2.22, the three-member board of commissioners, the county executive. And whereas the evaluation and processing of mobile home and property tax clearance permits is a time-consuming and lengthy process. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Owen the following, Section 1, receiving cutoff. The Treasurer's Office will accept mobile home and property tax clearance permits Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. No mobile home or property tax clearance permit will be processed after 3:30 p.m. This resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption and publication by law. Passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County, State of Indiana, in regular meeting held on today's date and month of 2021. Owen County Board of Commissioners, Gary Brooks, President, Robert Curry, Vice President, Dale Du Bois, Commissioner, and Sheila Reeves, Auditor.
Thank you, Jim. You have anything else, Diane?
The property clearance permits, those are the alcohol permits. It has nothing to do with collecting taxes.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion for the approval of resolution 2021-27. Resolution establishing a cutoff time for the Owen County Treasurer to receive mobile home and property tax clearance permits. Do I hear the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Bob. All in favor? Aye. I would suggest that you post this somewhere out in the office there.
We did, we have signs made up, we just didn't wanna post anything until after the meeting. And everything was
There you go,
passed.
gentlemen.
And then also wanted to talk about, our office is open from 8 to noon and 1 to 4. But during tax season, closing, not taking, we're still open, so if someone comes in with a permit up till 3:30, or if someone comes in and needs a receipt from the treasurer's office, we're there for that, is not taking, tax payments starting the 3rd of November through November 16th after 3 p.m. The office is still open, but we have to make sure that we are able to get our deposits to the bank in a timely manner. And we are short a person. So, myself and my chief deputy are stepping into other roles along with the roles that we have normally.
Your drop box outside is still available to drop those payments off, so.
Yes.
Okay.
The bank is, taking payments, up until the 10th too. If people go in there, they can mail them to us. That's no problem. We always get lots of mail, so that is something that we'll be working on during that time too. So, but in order to make sure that, everything is together and to the bank on time for them to process it, so it's into our account that day.
So every day at 3:30 is what you're talking about?
At 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, I'm sorry.
Starting on November 3rd through November 16th.
Jim, how does this affect the state statute of 8 o'clock to 4?
Well, they're open, okay, so that's the critical part. The office physically has to be open. Now, as far as what cutoffs and what time limits, I think that falls within the sole discretion of the commissioners and treasurer working together on what would work best. I think that would be the area, what's called reasonable and customary in that area. So it would be really a decision of you would have to assent that. It's kind of odd, trying to talk a rabbit hole, but there's a 1955 Attorney General opinion that kind of discusses this area. And I think the summation of it, even though it's, X amount of years old, is that the treasurer comes before the commissioners and you find that it's a valid, rational request, then you would have the authority. What I don't think that anyone has the authority, no one's asking for this, is saying we're closing down the treasurer's office at noon or anything like that. But as far as cutoffs and workflow, I think that by her request and your discretion, it can be yea or nay.
Well, for this period of time, roughly 2 weeks, I don't see a problem with it personally. I know staff cuts are affecting everyone. So, you guys have any comments on any of this?
What about 3:30? I mean, you're taking a lot of things down to the bank now and stuff, which years before they didn't, everybody run in here and stuff. And I don't know, I just think the treasurer's office open when people come in and wanna pay taxes. A lot of them get off, try to get off early, come down. If we shut it off 3, that means they're gonna have to quit work earlier, come down, cause some people do not like pay at the bank, they like pay here. And I think 3 o'clock is just a little bit too quick, maybe 3:30, that gives you half an hour. Should be able to do it in half an hour, couldn't you?
We have $5 million to collect between now and the 10th.
Right.
So, we need an hour, because 2 of us have to do that. There is a procedure to closing out each drawer. It will involve the teller, the clerk, and then myself and my chief deputy. It's not a quick process.
I didn't say it was, I'm
I'm
thinking
just
the
stating that's why
taxpayers
we need an hour.
and stuff, that's just my opinion. we can do whatever we want.
Are you using your part-time person at this present
I am.
time? And you're also using Lynette,
We will bring Lynette over, yes.
and that's for a 2-week period as well? Any other discussion?
I have no more.
Well, do I hear a motion to approve the treasurer's office to close at 3 o'clock from the period November 3rd through the 16th during this time for deposits due to short staff?
I'm being rude, but like.
Go right ahead.
You don't mean close, you just mean a cutoff.
Cut off, yes, that's what I meant. I'm sorry, Jim. Thank you for catching that. Cut off at 3 o'clock for deposits, but the office will remain open until 4.
Well, I'll make that motion if it has to be, it has to be.
Well, it's for a 2-week period of time. We'll make the adjustment, and then on the, whatever the 17th is, back to normal hours.
I second that motion.
Got a second by Bob. All in favor? Aye.
And also, we've got, the settlement date is December 14th. And, Lau did not choose that date, I chose that date. That gives us time, there is, even after the due date, there's a whole process that we have to go through, where there used to be 3 of us, now there's only 2 of us. So we have to trade off back and forth, then we also have to verify each other's work.
Are you gonna continue to use your part-time person through this period?
We're gonna use her until our money runs out. They also took $3,000 from me, so we're gonna use her as long as we can. Because we'll still have tons of mail, to collect afterwards too.
And I think you've put this date out there for some time, if I'm not mistaken, as far as the settlement date.
I'm sorry.
I said, I think the 14th's been out there for a little while as far as the settlement
Yes,
date.
last time that, Maria was in from, Lao, I had a discussion with her, to see if she was available on that date, cause they do come down on those dates to make sure everything does run smooth with the 2 offices.
So the 14th does work with their schedule, and they will be here that day.
Yes.
And you've already got that.
Yes,
It doesn't sound like we have a whole lot of options there. That's what, roughly 2 weeks behind schedule?
well, it's a little more than that,
All right.
because,
I said roughly. I'm
Yeah.
trying to be generous here.
almost a month later than we normally would do, but I've also got my chief deputy's son who's in the service is getting married. So I'd already approved for her to be off. It is a destination wedding, so she will not be here. So I cannot, I've already approved that for her. And then her other son, who's also in the service, he just had a baby. I'd already signed off for that towards the end of November for her to be off. So I'm not being aware that I was gonna lose a full-time person during this time. So it's going to be a slower process. We still have to take all the steps we normally do. It's just gonna take a lot longer because there's 2 of us. There won't be 3 of us.
Pretty much, kind of just a procedure, but
Go right ahead.
then when you said it's gonna be a month later, so this was my clarification, December 14th, you do the internal settlement.
Mhm.
That does not mean there's going to be a check that day on the 14th, is that correct?
That is that would be the auditor's office on when they cut those checks. I'm not sure how they decide.
Okay. It's just a little bit, so you will settle, meaning there'll be an amount, I'm just gonna make it.
There will be an amount,
I'm just gonna
yes.
make an amount up, so say it's $1 billion is
Mhm.
what Owen County is expecting. That then what happens with that after you've done your settlement?
After I do, my part of it, I give it to the auditor's office, and then they have a whole process they go through, which I don't know all the steps that Nicole does. But then, they will issue checks
Okay.
after that, but I'm not sure how that's determined on when those are cut.
Okay, but it definitely, like, just so everyone just understands, for them, we had a little, just a slight discussion earlier. There's concern about how long Lit Edit will make it through December.
Yeah.
And that's the big issue, so it's clearly, for the council purposes, the 14th would be the earliest day of settlement, but that does not necessarily mean there'll be payment if that phase.
Right, I don't issue the checks, so that would be an auditor question on that.
So you're gonna turn over the paperwork or whatever your findings are on the 14th to the auditor's office, then?
Nicole and I will do settlement on that date, and we will have our numbers. And then it has to go to the state. It has to be approved. And then, they will issue the checks.
It could be weeks then, I mean, if it goes to the state. Possible, I mean, yes, just, do we expect to have a payment sometime in December or?
I would think, yes, you would have a payment in December. But this is part of the process that Nicole and I have both talked about, losing, I only had 2 full-time people, I only have 1. That this was going to slow our process down, because Nicole also has to step into another role on the auditor side, because we have Lynette that comes to our side. So losing the person has really affected our settlement date by 3 weeks to a month.
I'm just trying to, because normally I think the actual payment came within that range of November, December, like in that. And I'm just trying to understand what if, for the council and for the commissioners to pay the bills, if the expectation it might be the 31st of December before there might be a payment. Is any issue or just roughly what?
Again, if we have to wait on the state, as quick as the state says yes, we will get it done. I will look into it and discuss further with Diane and Nicole, but all I can assure you is as quick as we get something from the state, we will get them out. But I can't give a timeline because we don't know the timeline for the state side of stuff.
No, I'm not understood, there's no precedent, just obviously December 14th, 15th, there's no question, Christmas Eve, Christmas, many people at the state take the trough time off. I just don't want to be an unrealistic number for the commissioners to pay the bills, the council to do the budget on when that actual December payment might be in. But no reason to expect it, and it will not happen before the 14th, unknown how many days after the 14th right now. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, we've got a bad situation getting worse.
And I explained that many a times, how this was going to affect our settlement, because I still have internal controls that I have to follow. So we can't move it up anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't catch our financial situation a few years ago and could have maybe avoided some of this, but it is what it is.
And now, also, we have invoice from Old National. We have someone who had written us a bad check, an e-check. And so the prosecutor's office had to do some research, and Old National has charged. So we have an invoice, so what we need to do is to see the county pay it, and then when settlement comes, this will get added on to their tax bill. They would pay it, and then before any checks are cut for settlement, that money would come off the top to be paid back to the county. just like we did with the NSF check before.
Yeah, we did that here some months back, and it's a total of $32.
Yes.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve, the $32 repayment, through settlement. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ben, did you want the ordinance? I've got an ordinance ready for that too. if you
Yes.
want that, but- So then this will be ordinance number 2021, number 32. This is for the treasury to cover these situations that may arise again. This is an ordinance for providing remedies for dishonored checks, electronic payments tendered to the Owen County Treasurer. Whereas the Owen County Treasurer accepts checks and electronic online payments for the payment of real and personal property taxes, special assessments, and liens. And whereas some checks and electronic payments are dishonored by banks and financial institutions because of insufficient funds or stop payment requests. And whereas the Administrative Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance providing remedies for dishonored checks and electronic payments to the Owen County Treasurer for the payment of property taxes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners, County of Owen, the following. Section 1. This ordinance will apply to any check or electronic payment received by the treasurer for payment of real or personal property taxes, special assessment, liens, and is dishonored for payment for any reason. Section 2, upon receiving notice that a check or electronic payment has been dishonored, the treasurer shall send written notice to the maker of the check or electronic payment. Section 3, any person who presents a check or electronic payment for property taxes which is dishonored by the presenting bank or financial institution shall redeem the check by paying the treasurer the amount of the check and an insufficient funds fee in the amount of $23. Additionally, a dishonored electronic payment is subject to fees for research and processing and a flat media fee imposed by the financial institution. Section 4, in the event that the funds necessary to receive the electronic check are not paid by the due date of the tax payment as described by Indiana Code 6-1.1-37-10F and G, the treasurer shall assign a late payment penalty pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-3710. Section 5, any person who presents a check or electronic payment to the treasurer for the payment of property taxes which is dishonored by a bank or financial institution is subject to all the liabilities enumerated in Indiana Code 2627 et al. This ordinance shall be full force and effect upon its passage and approval, recording and publication as provided by law, passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners, State of Indiana, in a regular meeting held on today's date of month, 2021. Owen County Board of Commissioners, Gary Burke, President, Robert Craig, Vice President, Dale Du Bois, Commissioner, attested by Sheila Reeves, Auditor.
And what ordinance number was that, 28?
This is 32.
32.
This is ordinance, so 2021-32.
Do I hear a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-32?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Bob, do I hear a second? Have a second by Dale, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Jim. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you. All right, Jim, you want to do a quick discussion on the ARPA plan?
Sure.
I think that's next on the agenda, and it's,
Just, so the ARPA plan, the American Rescue Plan, you did get a copy of it. It's a 9-page document. It goes through, just so everyone knows, there's 4 major areas. One is to respond to public health emergency. 2 is respond to workers performing essential work, premium pay. 3 is the reduction of revenue, so this is to collect lost revenue. Number 3 would be prime importance, and number 4 is to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband. So, if you review this plan and take a look at it, if you have any idea of the amount of funds, so when you look through pages 4 through 9, it will have like an amount of funds that you recommend. This plan can be amended at any time. So just for example, if it was, you want to dedicate $1 million to the recovery of funds, that would be put in there, and it's gonna, what I say at this point is really ballpark numbers for to consider. There's also an area in there for sewer, water, that type of infrastructure, broadband. But the other part that I think is very important is, as of last Friday, there is discussion in federal legislation about the possibility, the House bill at this point is 5735, that may allow this to go to infrastructure, meaning streets and bridges. So you have at this point roughly $2 million, slightly more than that, in the ARPA fund. That's in the bank, and it is drawing interest. There will be another payment of roughly $2 million, so the total amount of ARPA money that Owen County will receive is in the range of $4 million that will draw interest. There is some concern that there's a whole different plan called READY, the READY plan. That's a state plan. For the very just short synopsis, the state was divided into regions. Owen County is in the upland region. It's one of 11 counties. That has in the range of about $55 million of money that are being divided out in those 11 counties. In Owen County, at least some of the proposals are included, and Owen County is included. Now, those deadlines are coming up in January, that they're on an entirely different time schedule. This ARPA money does not have to be spent at all in 2022. This ARPA money does not have to be spent in 2023. When you get to 2024, that's when there's amounts that there has to be planned and there has to be expenses. So there is no rush or emergency as far as the American Rescue Plan. And it may be of some consideration or something the county might want to consider is to determine whether or not this House bill goes through, because that would change probably some considerations by the commissioners, by the council, as addressing roads and bridges. But that's just a thought, it's just a proposal. So what I would ask, if you would have time over the next 2 weeks, if you kind of take a look at the rescue plan, if you have some ballpark numbers, you certainly could at the 15th meeting discuss and approve a tentative plan. Again, this plan can be amended at any time. You're not locking yourself into those, but you also, I would say, keep in consideration the possibility of two things. One, if you want to use this in any form with the READY funds, which are state, that time period is different. That time period is coming upon us. And two, if you're looking at the possibility of directing some of this to roads and bridges, if allowed, you might want to keep that as a consideration also. So just kind of where we're at, I would imagine that this topic will come up tomorrow. There is a joint redevelopment, town and county, that's going to talk about different projects or different concerns that the county has. I would expect this topic to come up, but that would just kind of give you ballpark. $2 million in the bank, $2 million more coming, lots of parameters of how it can be used, and two different deadlines or time paths when you're talking about ARPA's on one path and READY's on another path.
Thank you, Jim. And as we learned from our CARES Act money that we received last year, $679,000, I believe that total was. After a few months, the state had enough of dealing with that and threw their hands up and just threw the money at us and said, you do with it what you see fit. Correct, Jack? So again, we're in no hurry here to make decisions on $4 million until they're the right decisions. One thing we know for sure in this particular package is that the highway department took a significant loss in 2020 due to revenue from fuel tax, excise tax, those type of things, because people weren't working. My personal opinion is we put every penny that we can back into the county that was lost, then we go to work on the other projects. And again, we've got time to do that. But as Jim said, as they amend this going down the road and they throw more money at different projects, we don't need to be in a hurry to make decisions, because once we do, we're stuck.
Two things, and then I'll any decision that's made out of bounds, out of the lines, the county has to pay back. So that is a premier concern. go over and over and over, that has to be, you know, correct. And, you know, and I think that's just gotta be kind of the guiding principle. No one wants that. It can be the most valuable project you can think of, dedicate 3 million to it, they come back and say, no, that wasn't. Owen County that is near and having reimbursement. I do have the firm of Barnes and Thornburg that is available and has been retained to assist in this area. They are available, like on any specific questions or any areas that you want to look at. And they are also looking in closely to this new legislation and what effect it might have on road detention.
Jim, one question for you. Once we put some kind of dollar figure to these categories, do you present that to Barnes and Thornburg?
Yeah, what we would do is, once you have it, I would have them run through there. Then it will come back to you to do a formal approval of that plan. At that time, groups, individuals can come before you and ask for certain appropriations. You may pass those, you may deny those. If you do say, you know, we approve of this, it goes to the county council for the actual appropriation. So if you had some ideas by the 17th, it could be discussed, the 15th, let me know. Send that up then to Barnes and Thornburg for an official formal plan to come back before you, you know, as commissioners to approve. And that would be the framework and the ballpark for the ARP funds.
Everybody on board with that? We'll have some discussions between now and then and try to get some numbers to this. At least present something, as Jim said, it can be amended and we'll see what's going on. Again, I don't know how you gentlemen feel, but I think we need to put every penny back in the county that we can, that we've lost.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to roads, streets and bridges, we can't get enough. All right, thank you, Jim. We will work on discussing that here in the following weeks. Okay. Owen County Comprehensive Plan, Matt and Marcy. You guys are on your final round here with us, right?
For now, I think, yes. All right, Matt Swartz, Southern Indiana Development Commission, and I've got contracts here for the comprehensive plan. I've got SIDC's contract for grant administration, and then I've got SB Regional Planning's contract to actually complete the plan. So SIDC's contract is for, in the amount of $6,700, and this would be local funds that was spelled out as part of the grant. So I guess we probably wanted to act on these separately.
And that one's already been approved by the council and the amount of money and so on and so forth. Yeah, we're just finalizing everything here with signatures. I just want to make that clear to.
Yeah, all right, we take them up after, okay.
Yeah, let's do one at a time.
The SIDC contract would be signed by each of the commissioners and attested by the auditor.
Commissioners, the one you're saying, is this one I'm following you, is this at the start, it says contract for grant administration
Yes,
services? Okay, there were just a couple things, just want to make a the amount is correct and was correctly stated, $6,700. There are some areas though in section 4, there are costs and expenses that are excluded. So the 6,700, at least by the way the contract is, does not mean that's the maximum amount. So I don't know if you had any questions in that area.
Are those for like printing or things?
Yeah.
Typically, there's no, I mean, our contract is the 6,700. I think that's,
Is it certified mail, publication charges, travel to meetings, any other expenses?
right.
Okay.
That's in, we don't charge that. So, those things would have to be brought to the commissioners for approval. The 6,700 is what we typically charge. That was drafted by our SIDC attorney, so I don't know.
So Sheila, any other bills you see that come through that are over $6,700, we won't pay without approval. All right, gentlemen, do I hear a motion to approve the contract for grant administration services with SIDC?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Dale, do I hear a second?
I've got one question.
Sure. Here, you want to take a look at this?
No, is that written in in the thing, or we just have verbal, what you just said,
Well,
Sheila?
that's verbal with it, unless Jim's got an objection to that.
No, they must consult with the county for anything that costs up $100, okay? But what I'm saying is, at least the way that it's written, if there's a bill for $25 for certified mail, that would just be coming in. So no, there's no objection of saying you want to see those and want to discuss those. But I do have a duty, like, to bring that clause up. At least the way the contract's written, it's 6,700 plus section 4 costs.
And we have that in the minutes that I told Sheila.
Okay, I'll second.
Also, County Commissioners, Economic Development has taken care of some of those costs already because we understand comprehensive plan is part of the whole entire county's plan. So therefore, with economic development funding, we've picked up some of that already in this process.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
This one requires all three. You got 2 copies of this here, correct?
Right, one will be left with the county, and then I'll take the other.
There's another one, Bob.
Go
Go ahead, yeah.
So then the second contract is to actually complete the plan. This would be SB Research and Planning's contract, and it's in the amount of $60,000 and will be paid for with grant funds. And the way they do that is there'll be an invoice submitted, and we typically will submit our invoice the same way, so they're all done at the same time. But SB Research and Planning will submit an invoice at 60% complete, and then the second invoice will be submitted once the plan's been approved by OCRA.
And this goes on to the planning commission, which you'll be involved in as well, and Susan and Norm. Okay.
And then this one, he has this set up to where it's just signed by the commissioner president, and that's it.
Jim, have you looked at these?
Which one is this one?
It's the agreement for consulting services.
This one here?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I am.
No questions on that one?
No doubt.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion for the approval of the commissioner president to sign this agreement for the consulting services.
I make that motion.
Have a motion by Bob, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Have a second by Dale, all in favor? Aye.
And then same thing, the county will keep a copy of that, and then I'll take the other one and I'll get it to Scott.
Give that one to Sheila. Did you get your copy out of the basket down there?
No, I'm gonna grab
There
it.
should be 2 down there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, good, I'm not quite done yet.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jim.
So Matt, just at this point, I know you're well aware of this, but I just want to make sure that everyone's all clear. The commissioners won't hear about this again until it's completely done, approved by the plan commission, and then brought back to them.
Right, so because there is a plan commission, there's a little, different approval process. But for OCRA purposes, and I've got the award letter here, so, basically we'll submit a draft plan to OCRA. They'll either approve it or ask for changes, depending on how they come back with that. If they approve it, then we would hold a public hearing. Typically, we hold it at the commissioners' meeting with the consultant. It's just a quick recap of what the plan found, and then there's a resolution that needs to be passed. That's what we submit to OCRA. I understand that the plan commission has to approve it as well.
Right, and that's, I guess, the part I just want to make sure that I'm on board. And I'll be straight up, I'm usually the guy that's one step behind, okay? So in 3674-500 series, there's a whole series of statutes as far as plan commissions involvement, that they have to have a public hearing themselves, and they have to approve the plan before it can come back. And I guess I just want to make sure when that area, what happened with the president of the commissioners, the planning director knows to get that on the agenda. I know we're talking months from now, but that's my understanding that Okra, that's fine, but in order for this to legitimately go through, it's gotta go through the plan, then it's gotta go back to the commission.
So as and a lot of these that we work on, you know, are very rural counties, so as we've worked on these in the past, it's the first time they've ever set these up, so it's a little different, so they're setting up that plan commission at the same time. You know, here you've already got the plan commission, so I think in this case, OGRA doesn't necessarily stipulate where the public hearing has to be held, it's just that a public hearing has to be held for it. So we could probably run that through the plan commission.
It would be best, because if you look at 36745007, it has a direct line, an outline for the plan commission, the specific notice, and I think that might work the best if that's possible, and have the public know the hearing through the plan commission.
Okay, yeah, and we can do that, and then would we just do the resolution then through the commissioners? Would the commissioners would approve it, or do you think the resolution would need to be through the plan commission?
I would say, and I'll double check this, but I would say at the top of my head, the plan commission is an advisory, but everything that goes through the advisory, they have to kind of yea or nay, so I think it would be both. I think that there would have to be a resolution reviewed by it, and then they would advise and come back to the plan commission.
Yeah, and I don't think we would have a problem with that, because the public hearing that's just a requirement of the plan. So it does not have to be held at a commissioners meeting, we just typically do that because you've already got your meeting scheduled. So I think we can do that through the plan commission, they would adopt it through resolution, and then the commissioners would adopt it through resolution as well, and then we would submit everything to OGRA, and so I don't see an issue with that.
Okay, that makes sense.
And James, to your point, you keep everyone involved. We have a steering committee that's already been put together, that's 15 people in the steering committee, so that no one's just being, you know, well, where'd they go, and now we come back 8 months later with something to present to you that you're not aware of. We already have Mr. Warner as well as Robin from the planning commission on that steering committee, as well as Gary Burton and other local officials, just so that we're all involved throughout the entire process, so no one is just surprised by, oh, what is this plan?
No, that sounds ideal, and then we'll just start doing the check.
We have one question. The comprehensive plan for the county, is that a total separate document from the one for the town, or is it going to be an all-encompassing?
This is for the county, so, you know, I don't know what your plan is with the town of Spencer or Gosport, but the plan itself is for the county, and so if Spencer or Gosport wanted to do a comprehensive plan, they would do their
So is it going to be?
It's not a town plan, but again, because it's comprehensive, and what affects Spencer affects the county, what affects Gosport affects the county, the different areas that we're already looking at focusing on really affects the entire county. So it's gonna be inclusive.
So they'll just be under the county plan per se,
That is
not
correct.
have a separate one?
So that they might do a separate one,
Okay.
but this will be the county plan.
Gotcha, okay.
Norm and Susan, thank you both for being here. I thank you, Bob, that you had to be here.
No.
Anything else, Jim?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm gonna skip you just a second, because you normally take a little longer. Chris, do you have anything this morning? Yes. I'm gonna bump you in front of Greg, because he takes a little longer, and then get Sam next, and if that's all right with you guys.
That's fine, man. Got finish up payroll, right?
I figured you had stuff to do.
So I got an email this morning about the IPEP grant.
Hopefully it was good news.
It was not good news.
Oh,
Was not.
well, we tried.
Right.
That's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
So as you may recall, we've had an ambulance out of service for quite some time, mainly because of the cost of repairs. We had it up to a shop that works on these specific diesels, and it is very good at diagnosing issues with these engines and vehicles. I was required, because of the cost of it, to get 3 different prices. And if you look there, those are 3 prices that I've got. I do want to say that if we do not go with the Danville Auto Service, there's still $441.90 that we owe them for diagnosing the problem. They've spent multiple days working on it, trying to figure out what was wrong with it. And, that $441.90 is included in their price. So if we do go with a different company to do the repairs, we'll still owe them the $441.90.
Chris, have you taken time to break these repairs down as far as item for item?
Yeah, I've looked at them. Unfortunately, the different companies wrote things in differently. Where one of them itemized every sensor that would need replaced. Another company would just put in their sensors.
Yeah, there's a lot of open area here, one quote, versus the other two broken them down extensively. You guys are seeing the same thing I'm seeing. $2,000 difference between the other two companies is huge. And I'm concerned that there may not be everything in that quote that is required to fix this vehicle.
Chris, let me ask you one question. This Danville,
Danville Auto Service is where it's sitting right now. They're the ones that diagnosed it, and they're the ones.
you've had work done by them before,
Yes, we have.
and it's always been very reputable,
Yeah,
no
I've had
problems?
No problems with them at all. I've had, work done with Elite, and then the other one, Raymond's. I've not had anything done with them.
Again, probably just read these three so we have them in the minutes, so we go ahead. So while you guys are taking a look, I'll just go ahead and we'll have these for minutes. Chris is, from the EMS has presented three quotes. All of these are for well under $50,000. That's the Indiana statute, and the local Owen County ordinance requires three quotes for purchases over $5,000 and $150,000. From Danville Auto Service and Tire out of Danville, Indiana. I'm just going to read the bottom line amount is $8,662.36. That's Danville Auto Service and Tire located in Danville, Indiana. And it's the amount of $8,662.36. Elite Auto Truck Incorporated is located out of Spencer, Indiana. They have submitted a quote. The bottom quote is $6,882.48. $6,882.48. Elite Auto out of Spencer, Indiana. Raymond's Auto and Truck Repair, located in Plainfield, Indiana, has a total amount of $8,956.94. The Raymond's Auto and Truck Repair, Plainfield, Indiana, $8,956.94. All three of the quotes for the vehicle repair. Indiana law and ordinance law, that it must go to the lowest bid, lowest quote, unless there are legitimate exceptions on why the lowest would not be the most responsive quote, or there would be other reasons why the legitimate reasons why a higher quote should be accepted rather than lowest.
And as Chris mentioned, there's, on the one from Danville, there's $490 more in their quote for the diagnostics charge, because that's where he took it to have it looked at. Chris, in your opinion, and your opinion means everything here because it's your department, do you have
Preference.
Yeah, preference, obviously, Danville's where you've taken it before. We're looking at a $2,000 difference in some of these invoices here. Two of them are very competitive, very close. Again, what I see is an incomplete estimate, and that's my opinion. And so you give me your opinion and that'll help me make my decision.
Chris, do you mind, I mean, before you answer, I just have a preliminary question. Danville Auto has actually went there and did a diagnosis, is that correct?
That's true,
They went
yeah.
through it. The reason I say on Elite, if I understand this correctly, it says customer states estimate for replacement of 2 sensors, 2 time sensors. Did Elite Auto do their own self-diagnostic evaluation?
Not on this issue. We took it to them first.
Okay.
And, we went to Danville, or they suggested we go to Danville. We were looking at different companies to try to get quotes. They suggested I go to Danville for another quote also. So, when it was in Danville, they started over completely and started looking at the truck and decided that what Elite came up with initially was not the actual problem. So, needing 3 quotes, I told Elite, well, hey, they found that this was the problem, not what you guys thought it was. Can you give me a quote on that? Does that answer your?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure, so one of these have actually went and physically evaluated the vehicle. The other 2 are more based on your oral representations of what the problem is.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a possible misdiagnosis of the first time to Elite, is that correct? And I'm not picking on any company here, I just want to make sure I understand that.
That would be correct.
Okay. You guys, jump in here.
Yeah, so Chris, what you're saying is the only one that's really been truly diagnosed is with Danville
For this problem, yes.
for this problem. Elite looked at it and sent you on up to Danville.
Elite looked at it and said that it was what's called a CP4 pump. It's the high pressure pump for the diesel. And he suggested I go to have Danville look at it also. Then Danville looked at it and said that it's in fact not the CP4 pump, that it's the entire exhaust system. Those exhaust systems are designed to regenerate 200 times.
Right.
This one's at regeneration number 188. And we're going about 100 miles and it's regenerated again because the filters are just plugged.
Okey-dokey.
So Danville determined that it was not what Elite said it was, so.
And Chris and I have talked about this over some time. We struggled to find some places to look at this or even to work on it because the possibility, if it was that pump, the actual ambulance body needed to come off the chassis, and very few places were capable of doing that. So that was also a struggle in these quotes. Any other questions?
Well, that was if it was the van style
Okay,
chassis.
I know we discussed that.
They did, yeah, and they did determine that it could be done on the truck chassis, which
Okay.
that's what this one is. It
Good.
could be done without removing the ambulance body, so, yeah. Sorry to
That's all right, I've had way too many conversations, not just with you, but everyone else, so.
understand.
And Chris, I think that the commissioner thing, for this quote from Elite, it's obviously roughly $2,000 lower. Is this a firm quote, meaning this is what they're going to repair to your satisfaction? Or does this mean unless we find more things? I think that would be real important to make this determination. If they're saying they're going to completely do everything that Danville has indicated, or Raymond for $2,000 less, and they're guaranteeing it,
that would make them the lowest amount. Is that what this quote says?
All I can go off is what they've put here, customer states, provide an estimate for the replacement of, the NOx sensors, the temperature sensors and the O2 sensors, indirect, injector, particulate filter and catalytic converter. I would assume that if they get in there and find more things, yeah, there would be additional charges.
That's with all three companies, right?
Yeah, I think Danville did a very good job of, I mean, they went down to the clamps on the pipes, how much they were gonna charge, the seals and the gaskets, everything was itemized
Right.
out.
And I don't see any of that on this Elite quote at all. Shows shop supplies $20. There's probably $500 worth of shop supplies on here if you figure in gaskets and clamps and things like that on this other quote. That's my concern. And trust me.
What my concern is, there's no way on earth that an individual took the same vehicle, these dealers, that the price would be that much for an individual. When these dealers see a county coming, it's got problems, everybody knows the county gets stuck to it. Just the way I feel about it.
Well, I hope that's not true, Dale, but
I think it is.
I'm not gonna argue
And
with
you
you.
ask everybody out here what they think.
Right. Like I said, I'm not gonna argue with you about it. That's a very good possibility. But we've got 3 quotes here and we need to make a decision. I feel that the one quote that is less is incomplete. That's my personal opinion. What do you think, Bob?
I think the same way. I think their other 2 companies here got their paperwork about the same, and there's only about $100 difference between them 2. And if Raymond has to do a diagnosis, there'd probably be another $400 or $500 diagnostic fee. So then he's right up. They're both pretty close, tick to tack then and stuff. And Danville's went out of their way and kind of bent over backwards and done all this work with no expense. I think we ought to go with Danville.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a motion for the repair of this ambulance with Danville Automotive Service due to the lack of incomplete quote on the lowest bid. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Bob, do I hear a second?
I have to second it.
Got a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye. Is that sufficient in that motion, Jim, of the insufficient
You're
quote?
finding that the lowest did not, but you're finding that, you find that this is a non-responsive quote. It does not outline, all the detail that you needed to make your decision on.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chris.
thank you.
Call them immediately and tell them to fix it.
We really need it back.
We know you're hurting.
Thank you.
Sam?
Yeah, I think Jim's got something prepared for you. Back when we had the layoffs, stuff like that, I laid off a part-time cook. We only have a part-time cook. So, we're shorthanded on the part-time cook situation. We know the funds, finances, the debt the county's in, so we're going to bring back the part-time cook. Instead of paying out the county fund, we're gonna pay it out of our commissary program, for right now, until we'll see what happens, down the road. But, we'd like to get that, it's more informational for you guys and stuff, then we'll, take it to the council, but, get this approved, get it passed. then take it to the council on the 8th. I can bring him back to work on the 9th.
So right now, you're just cooking part-time then, right?
Sack lunch, yeah. Yeah, we've, already increased our first rates up just a little bit. So we can, just pay it, was paid out of commissary fund until we'll see what, the county's, debt ratio is gonna be next year.
Should we just have a policy change here, or?
Well, this is, why it would come to you, any type of contracts and agreements still need to come before you as commissioners. However, in this particular one, this is the fiscal body, it has a rate of pay of $11.66 per hour, but this is not going to be a part-time, or obviously full-time or part-time employee. This is going to be an independent contractor. This person will not qualify for any type of benefits of any kind, holiday pay, really any type of benefit you can think of, they do not qualify. There will be no FICA, no taxes will be withheld of any kind. This can be terminated at any time by either party. So what would come before you as commissioners is just, do you have any objection to the sheriff presenting this to the county council? I think what it does is saves a week. The other possibility would be go to the county council, I'm making an assumption they approve it, then the sheriff would still need to come back to you on the 15th. I think he's in a situation, he needs to get something done. So if you have no objections, that would be the motion. You have that there's no objections for the sheriff to present this independent contractor agreement to the county council on the 8th.
And he's worked for us for a long, long time, he just got laid off.
All right. Still looking over it, Bob?
Some of the risk stuff, yeah. Read it once, but.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve the independent contractor agreement for the sheriff to present to the council at their next meeting. I'm assuming you're on the schedule for the 8th. Do I hear a second?
I second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Do you have a copy here that you want me to sign, Jim?
No, there's nothing you have to
Nothing
sign.
here?
This is just your
Okay.
approval of the sheriff making the presentation.
Okay.
And the other thing I got is we lost another jailer, so we're down 4 employees. We'll be working minimum 12-hour shifts in jail. I'm not sure what we're gonna do, we can't get nobody, you just can't get people working. Well,
And
no, but it's,
department heads, elected officials, I know that our pay scale is below subpar. I understand that. I know what you're dealing with, and I hate it for you. But it is what it is, so.
I do have to head to the office, but if you need anything, call
Sure,
me.
there is just one more
Oh,
quick
yes, sir.
thing on there.
Anything for you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on the feasibility study, the new jail construction.
Oh, yes.
Just putting this again, like with Art, the reason I say this, the clock starts on January 1st with the new funding, when the tax revenue comes in. There's a clear starting point and there's a clear ending point on that tax. The role of the commissioners, and this is your discretion, your time, but a public hearing does need to be conducted to discuss the feasibility of either, say, 2 counties coming together to build a jail, or the fact of within reason, local counties housing the prisoners rather than the sheriff. Now, preliminarily, it's already been documented in an open meeting, either by myself, by Garmon, and by RQW. There is no county interested in any way of doing a dual facility. That does not exist, and that's documented by RQW and Garmon. You had asked me to take on the role of sending out letters with any jail, any county in this normal area, even going as far as Hendricks County, Monroe. There was one county that responded, Greene County, but they had a cap, they have a limitation. They are not willing to take the sheriff's entire prisoner. Now, with that, just anecdotal though, every county did say if there was ever an emergency, anything happened for a weekend, completely full faith and credit, of helping. But this needs to be documented in a public meeting. Garmon would need to come out, RQAW, And the public absolutely is invited and to speak and to go over those. Until that's done, basically it's on hold. And not that there's any jail gonna be built here in a couple months, but this is one of the procedural things that we're probably, respectfully, commissioners, at a time to consider some type of date, that you would wanna do this. The other area is that the plans that you have, like right now, those are just general. This would just be, hey, we think this would be a good idea. The actual plans and specifications probably are gonna cost in the range of $1 million, and that's what would be submitted to the Indiana Department of Corrections before it could go. So this hearing has to take place. It's totally your call on what's a good time and a good date, but I just wanted to kind of put that in as agenda, kind of similar with our, something to think about here in the relatively near future.
And I agree with that, because we know we did the public hearings when the correctional facility tax got passed, we did the public safety tax got passed, but we're paying my whole entire budget out of the public safety tax. One thing we gotta keep in mind, that we told the public that this was coming. The public safety tax, doesn't mean the jail's gonna be built 6 months or a year from now, but we need to bring it to the public so they're aware of where we're at so far. Then what I'd like to see here in the near future is me and the commissioners and the board that we had set up for the jail to sit down and start talking about what's the plan? What are we gonna do in the future? What do you wanna do? Is it a 100-bed facility, 200-bed facility? If it's an add-on or this or so on and so forth, we need to generate a plan so we can take it to the council, so we can figure out the financial situation, stuff like that, and so the public will know, right up front what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam, and we know that it's inevitable, it's gonna have to happen. Insurance companies made it real clear, it's just down the road, so we need to move forward. I'm gonna throw out a date here. You guys can tell me if I'm out of line. Jim, you definitely can. Maybe our second meeting in February, which would be an evening meeting, to discuss this. That gets us through the end of the year, gets a reorganization come January, and then we're ready to hit the ground at that point. Just kind of a tentative.
I agree with that. It'll give us some time to put some dot a couple I's across a few T's.
And we did discuss that we were gonna have to do this back sometime, so it's time to get it on the books, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we'll tentatively kind of plan on that second meeting in February, then, unless you guys have an objection. Okay,
Okay, very good.
That's all I got.
all right, thanks.
Call me later.
Thank you, Sam.
Call me early.
All right, Greg. I'm sorry, Jack, jump up here real quick, you just got one item, I'm sorry. I'm not used to you being here.
I try to leave you guys alone as much as I can.
Sorry,
I'll be
Greg, I know
quick,
you
Greg,
got
I promise.
stuff to do.
Oh, no problem. Jim sent an email out on September 26th, kind of caught me off guard a little bit. First of all, I'd like to thank Jim for bringing this to my attention, that I was out of bounds here on the grant ordinance. Had not been following it the way I should have, and I'm here today to catch you guys up on where I am with the grants that I have going on. That's the best I can do. I've already got these grants in play, so, I've got 3 grants going on, and, one of them is for the hazard mitigation plan that we're gonna meet about tomorrow. I did bring that agreement with Christopher Burke Engineering, and you guys signed that. So I know that you guys are all aware of that grant and that figure. The total on that is $25,943. The county's gonna be responsible for $6,486 of that, and we're gonna take care of that through in-kind. Like tomorrow, their time will be tracked, and Suzanne Silverman's been given a lot of her time, and we'll keep track of all that and take care of that $6,400 through that. The other grant I have going is every year, Homeland Security works with me on what they call an Emergency Management Performance Grant. And used to pay 50% of my salary. They've backed off on that just a little bit. It's almost 50%, but not quite. And I think you guys have the documentation on that grant. And like I say, that's an annual grant. And sometimes IDHS is pretty short on their deadlines and things. I may have to meet those deadlines without coming before I can come before you guys. I'll try not to do that, but I'll certainly at least communicate with you by phone or email to let you know those are coming up and make sure that you guys want me to pursue those grants and not miss out on that opportunity. And the last grant I have is another emergency management performance grant. They call this one the competitive grant. They almost led us down the path this year of asking for vehicles. I think there's a lot of EMAs that got vehicles in 01 and 02, and they're wearing out across the state. And this is their way of trying to replace the vehicles that they bought for those people back in 01, 02. And so they kind of tailor-made, in my opinion, tailor-made this grant for vehicles, and that's what I asked for. I did speak with Commissioner Burton on the phone prior to submitting that application. I also communicated with my Emergency Management Advisory Council prior to submitting that application, and that grant is for $40,000. And it has been approved, and that's where I am on my state and federal grants. You guys have any questions or any more information I can provide for you? Or?
Does that amount fall in line with the Sourcewell pricing for a vehicle, that amount, you know?
The best I can do as far as answering that, Gary, whenever I was in the application phase, that part of it, I called the Ford dealer that Sam buys his vehicles through, and I talked to the guy that handles emergency services sales, and he said that if I was awarded $40,000, he could get me on a truck, is what he said. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just didn't know what kind of vehicle that you were looking at, and obviously Sourcewell's got several different categories, whether it's a plain Jane work truck or a Explorer or whatever it is. I just wanted to make sure that the county wasn't gonna have to kick any kitty on this $40,000 to make up a difference or whatever, so.
Well, if that happens, I think
You're not gonna let it happen.
pretty slim pickings right now on
Vehicles.
what you can't hardly, it's not like it was 2 or 3 years ago. You say, well, I want this package, and you kind of navigate through the prices to stay under your grant. But I do have some previous grant money that has been put back, where I shouldn't have to come and ask for any new money, maybe just use some money out of an old grant that I have in a dormant fund.
And obviously, before that vehicle's purchased, you'll bring whatever those quotes are and those vehicles are to us for approval or to inspect.
Yes, we're not there yet, but I certainly will.
Do we have, do we need to sign off on these anywhere, or they've already been approved? That's what I thought, so, okay.
I'll do better in the future. Sorry
Thanks,
about
Jack.
this. Okay.
Just with our money restraints, we're just trying to make sure as Jim's doing his job, so.
Well, they understand I wasn't aware of the ordinance, and I like to go by the rules, but sometimes one gets by me, and this one did, so thank you guys.
We'll get you a copy, you can hang up down in your office. Thanks, Jack. All right, Greg. Greg's got quite a bit of stuff this morning. He's kind of the reason I held him back a little bit, so. I didn't see you on here, so.
Yeah, I don't know, I thought, but it's okay.
Well, hang in there.
I would say it's a few minutes.
If I undo this, it's not all gonna come bouncing out of there at me.
Commissioners, what I'd like to do, I'd like to end with what we just handed you, these bridge documents that we've obtained, so I'd like to go through some things first and end with the bridge documents today.
Okay.
Update, this morning, My guys went out to, work on the Serpent Road, bridge and found our backhoe vandalized. That's the second piece of equipment that we've had vandalized in the last 30 days. The road grader comes to a tune of, $6,300 of damage. The backhoe,
Is that our part, Greg, after deductible, or is that,
that's the total.
that's the total,
We
okay,
didn't turn that in on insurance.
okay.
The backhoe, I haven't had a chance to personally go out and look at. I have communicated with Ed Burdine. Ed Burdine told me that the, step was missing. Looks like they cut some wiring, and took the wiring as well as battery cables and batteries from the machine. Our only option, this gentleman, we just don't park our machines out in the middle of nowhere. This backhoe's actually parked in eyeshot of a residence that we've parked at for years. So whether the occupant was home there, I mean, they've given us permission to be there.
As bad as that police
I
needs to
think,
be open, they should watch it.
me as the highway superintendent, I hate to tell you this because it slows productivity, but, these machines are gonna have to start coming in, or they're gonna have to be parked right beside somebody's home that gives us permission to be there. And we do have folks throughout the county that will let us do that, but, I would have never thought where this machine was parked, it would have been vandalized. I mean, truly, across the street from their house is how close we were. So, we'll get an update with that, you know, without just looking at it myself, I'm hoping it's something we can fix in-house.
Can we go, are we in a position that we can move the excavator out there and continue this job, or you've got it tied up somewhere else, or?
No, we'll continue.
Okay,
We'll continue, it's just the agitation of having the machine.
I just being prepared for phone calls, that's
It's
all.
all right, you don't have to worry about that. We completed, Besadia Road with the cold mix. I have explained to Commissioner Burton, haven't had a chance to talk to the other two commissioners, the product looks pretty good, gentlemen. Probably needs to be something we lay in August instead of, October, November, because we usually run at about 30 feet per minute with our paver, and we were down to 12 feet per minute because it was cold and it was hard to lay. But it does look pretty good. And it's something that you guys need to look at when we talk about millings versus a cold mix product on some of our in-house projects for next year. Ends up, looks like we're gonna have $2 more a ton in the cold mix versus the millings. And the millings seem cheaper, but where we say we don't have to crush these, we're using new aggregate to do that. And it is time sensitive. The cold mix, can be laid 30 days after it's made. The millings have to be on the ground within, an hour of the time it comes out of the pug mill. So, if y'all get a chance, go out to Besadia Road and look at it, and compare it to the two products and see what you think.
This is the first time we've done this, correct?
This is the first time we've done this, and the reason we used it was because, millings are so time sensitive, and Besadia being so far out, we couldn't get them from the shop. We didn't think it on the ground in an hour and 15 minutes as far out as we had to go.
At only $2 more a ton, it seems like a lot less labor intensive, for sure.
Well, and I believe it would be, and there may be able to work something out after Jim looks in. I was going to ask Jim to look into it, but other counties, after they have their yearly bids, approach their vendors and say, okay, I need 3,000 tons of number 11s because that's what we use. And they make them on site at the quarries. if we could get one of the local quarries to allow us to do that, which would cut some of the trucking out. I know that, Clay does it, Vermillion does it, I don't know. There's gotta be a way, we just have to look into it, but once we get our yearly bids, we might be able to get that situation worked out where we can just work out of the quarry and cut more trucking out. Even further, if we do that, we can save more dollars. Cole Ross Road is complete. Milestone, started again this morning on Walden at 7:30. I expect him to be done with it, today. That being said, our community, crossing projects will be done this afternoon. Talked to, Commissioner Burton, and I'll run this by the other commissioners. Southeastern has a road widener, which we would normally rent. They are trying to sell a new product, and they have one that they will let us have for 2 weeks, at no cost. Hamilton County has it now. The only thing we would have to do is insure it, but, what we do with that, is we just go along the edge of these roads that we just paved, and it puts the 53s in, we pack in on the side. So I do need permission from the commissioners to, allow me to have the demo, but that would save us a rental. And I could have that for 2 weeks, and gentlemen, I could get more than our community crossing roads done in 2 weeks. We might be able to use it for some other things.
Yeah, because the ones from last year, we didn't get that opportunity, so if we could go back and catch some of those, that.
Yes.
Yeah. And you guys know as well as I do, that keeps, 4 or 5 inch drop off on that blacktop off the edge of the road, so if we can get this done. So I'm gonna make a motion that we let Greg, test this machine for 2 weeks or however long they're gonna let us have it, and it's at no charge.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by myself, second by Dale, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
Who's gonna put it on the insurance?
Greg, he can call Epic and give him the information on it.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever the serial number, model number, so on, John can take care of
And
that.
what it is, gentlemen, it's the new machine. They used to be a total self-propelled machine. Now they make an attachment that goes on a skid steer, so they'll bring out a new skid steer and the attachment.
Sheila, that may, excuse me, Greg, that may fall under umbrella and it may be covered without any additional cost. We'll find that out. We've done this before, I know.
Okay. The White Road Bridge is open. I think I've announced that, but not in an official meeting. Before the end of the week, we'll be working on the foundation of the Dunn Road Bridge. Hoping to have it open in the next 2 weeks. Okay. Gentlemen, I'm just informing you, I don't intend to go to anybody and ask for any more overtime, but, we are down to our last $400, which is much better than we usually are by this time of year. But I will tell you that my guys didn't answer the phone this weekend when we called because they knew that. So, you may see delays. I can't require them to answer the phone of a night if I'm not going to pay them, correct, Jim?
So do you wanna talk about some finances now? Is this a lead in?
Yeah, just go right ahead.
Okay, so commissioners, these are my calculations here. So I'm gonna use the financial versus fund ledger as of 10/31, okay, the amounts. So I'm just gonna combine this to keep this to round numbers, but I'm gonna use using 1169, 1173, and 1176 combined. There's about $550,000 in those 3 funds. By my calculation, Greg, you have $280,000 roughly is the payment for the community crossing roads, which are going to be completed today. So sometime in November, December, they're gonna want that payment.
December, yes.
All right, so that's 280. There's about 28,000 roughly is the share of the liability insurance left for the highway department, that was appropriated, and that's what's left, and all those bills have come in and been paid. You have possibly 56,000 ballpark for the equipment, that's supposed to lease, and the equipment that's supposed to come in on November 15th. Now that puts it at roughly $364,000, so 550 minus 364,000 leaves you a balance of $186,000 in your account. November payroll will be $84,000, again, ballpark motion. That leaves you $100,000. That's combined, that's everything. And all of those funds must have a positive balance by the end of the year. That's not a discretionary. So I want to point that out. I mean, looking in November. Now, you have not received, obviously, your revenues for November. Now, you did, though, in local road and street, got the double payment, so you're completely caught up in there. So what you're looking at is the correct average for local road and street for November and December. It will not be 146,000 like you got this time, because you got 2 will taxes.
That is correct.
In there. There was good news of 137, in that 137,000, that was high for MBH and restricted. So, looking in that range, I mean, you probably got about $100,000 cash balance minus those 3. That's all you have left, plus your 2 revenues. So, that's kind of it. I mean, I don't think at this point, there's any way to squeeze really anything more out of it. There is no money if there's a catastrophe. I mean, I know it's November, but if the blizzard hits or whatever, November, December, I know we've been, as a state, been very fortunate, in that over the past years, but this is Indiana. I mean, I've lived here for 6 decades. I mean, I know what can come early in November, December. You don't have any money for that, okay? If there's some type of blizzard there, and there's also probably minimal amounts to buy product or anything else that's coming that you have. I mean, if you need a lot of stone or a lot of there, minus of what your revenue is. So if those figures match kind of what you were thinking, I mean, that's kind of where we're at here these last 60 days.
You're absolutely correct. It's basically, Commissioner, what we've been dealing with all year long, month to month, as to what we have.
Let me grasp around this real quick, Greg. Make sure I'm understanding it. Let's say as of today, with those deductions, we have 102,000 in all 3 funds. We have yet $250,000 ballpark coming in for November to be split between 76 and 73, again in December.
Sure.
So that'll cover our labor cost, fuel expense, whatever that might be. So basically what you're telling us is there is nothing extra for overtime, which we already knew. I think I'm correct in stating that we are good. Salt and sand, we're full, good to go for winter. Is that correct?
Salt and sand barn are both full, and we have extra stand. Beside, when I say salt and sand, we have a mixture of salt and sand in one side that is full, and then I have the other side of the barn is straight salt, which we mix. It is full.
Okay, so winter-wise material, we're good.
Then we have the sand over to the side. Commissioners, I'm just going to state what I think are the facts. We've done a really good job keeping these roads taken care of the past few winters. That being said, the citizens expect that. So, last year, we did end up having to buy material mid-winter when we thought we were good in order to maintain the same level of winter road maintenance that we had in the past. I can only tell you that I have got a full barn of salt, a full barn of salt sand mix, and enough sand laying there to mix that salt. It depends, it's like Jim said, it absolutely depends on the winter. We could start using it next week and we may not use it at all.
Yeah, it's a rolling dice.
The only thing too is that, and this is, I know, obvious, whatever money he has on December 31st, that's how much money he has on January 1st. Even though the 2022 appropriations come in, this is 100% cash-based fund. So where the general fund could be flush at 1,000,000, that will not happen with the highway department. It's not gonna happen with Kathleen and dispatch nor Chris at EMS. I mean, these are cash funded, they're not appropriation-based budgets.
Well, again, we knew it was gonna be tight, and it is gonna be tight. But what I think that we can say out of this is, we watched the pennies, we were still able to get these summer projects, some of them completed, that we had planned on not doing any at all. So we got the citizens taken care of the best that we possibly could in a situation that we were dealing with. All in all, that's not too bad. I'm not saying that we're jumping up and down with joy with a big bunch of cash balance here, but we got projects completed and still gonna have a few pennies left in our pocket when it's all said and done. So congratulations on that.
I think as much of Jim explaining the financials, I want the commissioners to be aware that it may be tough for me to get guys to come out. So Kathleen, it's gonna be slower response for me to get guys out. I think you probably saw that this weekend. In general, we could be at a tree within an hour. It took me 2.5 hours to get there, and then hours to get it cleaned up because it was big and it, we hauled 2 dump truck loads of debris and had to have it backhoed, et cetera. So, what you'll probably see is Dakota and I taking care of things the rest of the winter, except when it comes to snowfall. When the snow flies, they're required to be there and they know it.
Greg, did we increase your overtime budget for 2022?
We did not, it stayed the same.
Stayed the same? I know in previous years, we wiped it out, like first quarter, it was gone. And I know that we expanded that moving forward. I couldn't remember if we added any additional or not, so, okay.
To be honest with you, this far in November, I think we've done relatively
No, you have.
well. And so, anyway, anything to add to that, Rachel, regarding to, okay. Okay, gentlemen, I wanna dive into the bridge issues that we've, got at hand right now. I have what we refer to as an RFP from NDOT, a request of proposal that was advertised for letting for our bridge inspections. I talked to Sheila. Sheila said we didn't have any in. United Consulting actually said that they brought one to the commissioners meeting and handed it in during the commissioners meeting. They said that I'd already left for the day. So, my phone.
It's gonna say, I don't know, anything, do you?
The new gentleman that took over was here at a meeting and presented it, but I think all he had was the updated bridge plan book, if I'm not mistaken.
That little binder book thing that give only 3 copies.
We got a booklet, but it didn't
Like it was just the inspection of the bridges that went through the list.
tell different ways of different groups.
Said that they handed it in on October 4th would have been a day. We don't have anything, and then in speaking with them, Sheila hasn't received anything else in her office, and that's where it was supposed to come to. Gentlemen, we're gonna have to re-advertise that. Because one, we don't know what happened to the one that they said they turned in at the commissioners meeting. Rachel handles the bridge inspections and that part of it, so we'll have to advise NDOT that has occurred. And
I'm thinking here, I think that they only brought 4 copies that day of that. And if I'm not mistaken, the three of us and Jim got one, Sheila did not, and they were supposed to get her one in here, and they did not do that.
And actually, I got the fourth one and was to make a copy for Jim. But it was just it wasn't the actual.
That's what, okay, I remember that conversation and all that, but one of them was short, so, okay.
Well, I'm just I'm basically just advising you like Jack did in regard to his grants. We advertised like we were supposed to. We worked with NDOT like we were supposed to. If United turned one into here, we don't have it. Then I have to have more than one, so I'm going to have to solicit. Apparently, this will be the first time that if they were the only ones that we only received one. So, has to be re-advertised, and, if we don't have something by December 31st, we're in violation, so we need to get right on that. Rachel will start that as quick as we get back. Okay, gentlemen, in front of you are the three bridges that we have spoke about on numerous occasions. Bridge 44, Wasatch Lake Road, Bridge 16, Rocky Hill Road, and Bridge 189, Rattlesnake. There's a copy for everyone here. Two of these contain bid packets. Bridge 16 and Bridge 44. Bridge 16 is the one that several citizens have been in and complained that is closed on Rocky Hill. And of course, 44 is on Wasatch Lake, and it is fracture critical and has been skipped over for replacement for the last several years. Gentlemen, it is bleak. Jim has explained it is bleak in regard to monies. But the price of material goes up every day. The bid, and the bid packet and plans that have been viewed by a engineer, which costs us $5,000 a set, which will have to come from Bridge. But my request would be, if there's a way to put at the very least 16 out for bid pending our settlement to see if we even have enough money to build it. But if we don't do something, I just keep being farther behind the 8 ball. In all honesty, there may be enough money, I think, that may come from the settlement to build 16. But we don't know, but if it can be advertised with some type of a clause, if we don't get the funds, we don't build it.
And Jim, with that being,
60 days ahead.
with that being said, if we put these out for bid and the money's not there, we can always reject these bids.
You can reject all bids. The only, again, yeah, to be candid, I mean, the only downside is, I mean, obviously any vendor that's putting there is going to spend some time, doing that. But I think that can kind of be expressed that this is, maybe we want to even put that in our notice to bid. This bid is subject to the Owen County obtaining financing, just so the vendors are well aware that they may present an excellent bid. It may be the lowest bid, and it still may be rejected just because there is financing for it. I would recommend adding that to this package.
And Greg, so you know, and gentlemen, so you know, I did speak to Jim over the weekend on this matter and requested that we get this out as soon as possible. We are at the end of the year. By the time this process gets through, those bids come back. We're gonna probably be in a new year with new money. This is something that needs to be done, again, as you said, as soon as possible. So that's where I'm at on it.
The only new money that I can expect in bridge will be the December settlement, and I got in on the tail end of it, but it looks like we won't know till the very last minute what that will be.
Yeah, I think, see, here's,
And then the other one is the spring.
right, so the problem being with the 14th is that the annual bids, if you approve those later today, would be opened on December 6th. And then that would allow Greg enough time then to, review and go. The problem is, that there's some technical things that still need to be done, and these need to be reviewed. But if you approve these to go out, the problem would be if they went out and were advertised on the 14th and the 26th, 27th, something in that range. If they came back to you on December 6th, you're not going to know.
Right.
You're not gonna have any idea. I don't know that you wanna do this bid project the very last meeting of December. So I think we're looking at, and there's also, they can't go out too early because by statute, there's an ending time, so we have to do it. So if you want this out, I think probably what we'd be looking at is actually send it out in December, have it come back in January is actually the most realistic earliest time. But with that, do you want vendors over the Christmas holiday trying to do a bid package? I mean, it's totally up to you, totally how much they want to do their business. But I think January, probably the second meeting in January would be the earliest that you would actually be able to know how much money you had and make that decision.
Well, guys, I'm gonna speak up as I normally do, and then I'll let you, but, this bridge is fairly critical. We've had a boatload of complaints about it. If our vendors have to work over Christmas holiday, Bill, I'm sorry. That's just the way it's gonna have to be.
Hey, we work all year round.
I figured you did. I know if I was in your shoes, I would do whatever it took to get that quote out, or that bid out. So that's how I feel about it. Like, again, the sooner we get this on, in motion, the sooner we can get, things set.
Saying that, I guess the question would have then, do you want it for the first or second meeting of January? That would determine.
It would have to be the second, I'm assuming, Jim, because the reorganization on the first is some time-consuming stuff.
It's a reappointment year also.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so if you do approve, we're looking at the second meeting in January. Okay, that could be done.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
That could be done.
Thank you, commissioners.
They haven't voted yet.
No, I'm just thank you for listening to me.
So, are we just going to make a motion on the one bridge here, or are we going to, do 16 and 44? How do we want to tackle this, Greg? Or Jim, either one? I'll take advice from either one of you.
Personally, they both need done.
We can always reject
But
44 or whatever.
I think, from my standpoint, we bid the most important one, which is 16 at this point in time. There may be some other avenues with the American Rescue Plan that come later in the year. We'll get a spring installment. I know product is going up, and I know these guys are gonna tell me that product is going up, and I need to do something now, but I do not believe that I have any more money than to build 16.
Okay.
And then I think we come back at a later time, and we may not even have the money to build 16, but I think we'll be really close.
Yeah, and hopefully in the years coming, or this next year, we've got the American Rescue money, we've captured of lost income. We'll cross our fingers for all those good things. So we basically just need a motion for approval of submitting bid packets for Bridge 16, is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, so we're gonna stick with bid 16, just approving bid packets to go out in time for your second meeting in January of 2022.
And that's my motion, Sheila, no, Jim. I'm gonna make a motion that we authorize the bid packets to go out for Bridge 16 to be completed and returned to us on our January 2nd meeting of 2022. Do I hear a motion?
Oh, I thought you made.
Maybe I did make the motion.
I thought you did.
I'll say that I
Second
did.
it,
Do I hear a second, Bob?
but I second it.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
There was a lot of talking there, Bob. I got confused.
Oh, I thought maybe I was.
Is there anything else you need for us on that, Jim, or?
No, and then the others are just standby, these other two, just.
I think so now, until I check some other finance issues, Jim, we may look at some grant processes and different things.
Okay. I'm showing the Cume Bridge is the 31st, roughly about $89,000.
Yes, that will have to take 10,000 out of that
For the plants.
for the plans.
In our settle amount in December, what is that? 210, 15,000, somewhere in that ballpark.
It's usually more in the spring, I probably.
I know for the year it's what, 432.
1135.
Yeah, 1135.
One time didn't we get?
Usually the spring's pretty hefty.
Bridge 16 to redo it.
That went towards the Kelly Road Bridge.
Oh, well, yeah, but we got to bid one time.
Yeah, just for the deck, yes, yes. And there was no engineered
General revenue.
stamp for approval of it, so we had to do a full-blown bridge.
BMDH.
No, it's 1135, the bridge from. December last year.
The total bridge fund's what, 432?
I think it's a bridge.
Yeah,
So
432, but the majority,
the spring's when
we get the biggest chunk in the spring.
okay.
Shows May of 20 this year, 234,799.
So we got basically 200,000 here towards the end. Okay, just ballpark, that's all I wanted to know.
The last thing that I have, Jim, that I requested is the school zone for the, Beach Church School.
Oh, beach.
And Jim and I, commissioners, I mean, I'll, let him explain. Jim, I appreciate, made the trip out there. I think he may have a couple of different ordinances in regard to that. One is to make a intersection a four-way stop, and then we can discuss the school zone also.
So, commissioners, if we could, you have a series of multiple ordinances that we can do in any fact. We've got the second reading of Steubenville, Colrose, and Walden Road. Then there's new speed ordinances for Bethesda and Westfall Creek. There is an ordinance prepared for a four-way stop at the intersection Greg just spoke to at Church in Denmark. And then there is a utility amendment. This is just purely procedural, but it needs to, for the fees that are collected for utilities, it needs to go in a specific fund and account. So we've got, what are those, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 7 highway ordinances. So I kind of lead you on which direction, which ones you want to do first. If we want to go to discuss the four-way stop, that's fine, it's ready also.
Yeah, let's start with the new ones and go back to those other ones.
Okay.
I do have a quick question, I guess for you and Greg both. And I agree with the four-way stop at Beach Church and Denmark Road. Does that still need to be marked as a school zone or children to play or?
The children at play can absolutely just go up, that's fine. The stop sign, and looking at this, the Denmark Road, if I recall correctly, Denmark Road was east and west. It has a two-way stop, so that naturally brings those vehicles right at the intersection of the school to zero. In order for them to exceed in 500 feet, I mean, basically using a transportation, they'd have to floor it. I mean, like you would just have to go that. So on one hand, you already have a natural barrier. The problem that I saw was on the Beach Church Road of north to south, that is not a stop. So a vehicle traveling 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, whatever they choose to go, they're going right through that. So they would be approaching theoretically that school at 40 to 45 miles per hour. My understanding is that in the morning, and I was not there in the morning and afternoon, I was just there at a different part, but I think you kind of see. If you're having, say, horses, buggies, multiple children, I don't think you want the 40-mile-an-hour traffic north to south. Now, if, with the four-way stop, that puts everything at 0, and that's right at the corner of the school, all 4 directions. I don't know if that solves, in essence, the problem where then you would want to rezone. Now, the problem with the rezone of the school, there's one thing I still have to check, and the other, that can only be for certain feet. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, at all, but it's kind of a unique situation that you have right at the intersection where you want everyone to come to 0, a 4-way stop establishes putting every vehicle in all 4 directions at 0. Both directions would have to really accelerate to even get up to that speed by the time they pass the school. So it's kind of your discretion. Definitely make consideration on the 4-way stop. If you want a school zone on top of that, I'll need to prepare that for the 15th, and I can do that. But that's where we're at on the Beach Street and Denmark, Beach Church, I mean.
And you and I discussed that. I honestly think that the 4-way stop is probably gonna take care of the problem. I would like to see a children at play sign up there around that school, maybe on both Beach Church and Denmark. That's just my opinion. We can discuss that here in a minute.
And I agree with that. I don't see any need if the stop sign's gonna be there because people do have to slow down and come to it. We'll mark the road ahead, stop ahead, etc. The one thing that I would request from the commissioners, we don't want to insult anyone in there that is a school. I don't necessarily believe we need to put the 20-mile-an-hour zone with the stop sign, but I do think we need to mark it with a sign that says it's a school and children there.
But no, I mean, that would be, it wouldn't be established change, so putting school zone would be fine, and the 2 stop signs and the children to play. I mean, all those would work. And then this, if it passed, this is one of those that would need the double publication. But if you want to, I'll just go ahead and it's real short. This would be ordinance number 2021-033. 33, an ordinance establishing stop signs at the intersection of Beach Church Road and Denmark Road in Owen County, Indiana. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Owen County desire to maintain its streets under jurisdiction control and safe and secure from dangerous traffic patterns. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Owen County find this proposed ordinance will promote the health, safety, comfort, general welfare of the citizens of Owen County. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County the following. Section 1. This ordinance establishes a 4-way stop at the intersection of Beach Church Road and Denmark Road in Owen County, Indiana. Section 2, all vehicles approaching Beach Church Road while traveling both east and west on Denmark Road shall come to a complete stop at the said intersection before proceeding through the said intersection. All vehicles approaching the intersection of Denmark Road while traveling north and south on Beach Church Road shall come to a complete stop at the said intersection. Section 3, that the Owen County Highway Department will erect and maintain traffic control signs at the intersection of Beach Church Road and Denmark Road. Section 4, any person violating this ordinance will be subject to a $100 fine. The operator will also be liable for all and all cost of Owen County for the first prosecution to collect said fine, but not limited to court costs and attorney fees. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption. Publication is required by law. Passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County, State of Indiana, regular meeting held on today's date of month of 2021. Owen County Board of Commissioners, Gary Wright, President, Robert Cray, Vice President, Del Du Bois, Commissioner, Sheila Reeves, testing as auditor.
And what was the number on this?
That was 33.
33. Do I hear a motion to approve ordinance establishing a stop sign at the intersection of Beach Church Road and Denmark Road in Owen County, ordinance number 2021-33?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Bob. Do I hear? Have a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Gary's okay, just do this amendment for the fee. So this is going to be ordinance number 34. So this will be ordinance numbers 2021-034. This is an ordinance amending ordinance number 2020-56 entitled Ordinance Establishing Standard Permitted Conditions for Pole Lines, Underground Cables, and Utility Lines. Whereas the Owen County Board of Commissioners desires to amend ordinance number 2020-0056 titled an ordinance establishing standard permitted conditions for pole lines, underground cables, and utility poles. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County that the ordinance 2020-0056 is hereby amended by this ordinance, and section 5G shall read as follows. Section 5, permit fees. G, all fees collected shall be allocated to the Owen County Highway Department. The fees shall be deposited in Fund 1176. Account number is 00614. This amendment shall be in full force and effect after its passage, approval, recording, and publication provided by law, passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners, Owen County, State of Indiana, in a regular meeting held on today's date and month of 2021. Owen County Board of Commissioners, Gray Bird President, Robert Gray Vice President, Dale Du Bois Commissioner, as Chief Reeves Auditor.
Thank you, Jim. Do I hear a motion for approval of ordinance number 2021-33, which is the ordinance Jim just read, is amending ordinance number 2020-0056.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Have a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye. 3-0. There's that.
So remaining ordinances, there's two new ones, which would be 35 and 36 for Bethesda and Westfall Creek. And then there's the second reading to 29, 30, and 31 for Walton, Colrose, and Steubenville.
Okay, Bethesda is 34, 35?
Bethesda will be 35, and Westfall Creek will be 36, 036, 121.
I think I marked that last ordinance 33 on the amendment.
Let's see, utility is 34 and stop sign is 33.
Okay.
Stop sign is 33, utility is 34.
They may be in that basket, one of them. If it is, Jim, you may need to change the.
I'm gonna go ahead, you got 33, I'm gonna change that to 34.
Okay. I knew that I had one of them off when you reread them.
Okay, yeah, it's changed to 34.
Okay. So we're ready for 35.
Okay, 35 is a maximum speed ordinance. I'm going to, since the 35, 36, these are identical with the exception of obviously the street name. So 35 is Bethesda and 36 is Westfall Creek. They read the same unless noted otherwise. This is an ordinance establishing the maximum speed limit on Bethesda Road 35, Westfall Creek Road ordinance 36. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Owen County desires to maintain its streets and jurisdiction the safe control from dangerous traffic patterns. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Owen County find this proposed ordinance would promote the health, safety, comfort, general welfare of the citizens of Owen County. Whereas Indiana Code 92156 allows the county to decrease the speed limit on a street outside of an urban district to not less than 30 miles an hour after performing an engineering and traffic investigation. Whereas the Owen County Department has received complaints regarding excessive speed on ordinance 35 Bethesda and ordinance 36 Westfall Creek, and has conducted the required engineering and traffic investigations. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners as follows. The maximum speed limit on ordinance number 35 for Bethesda Road will be 30 miles an hour. Bethesda Road is located outside of urban district in Owen County. The maximum speed limit for Westfall Creek shall be 30 miles an hour. Westfall Creek is located outside of an urban district. The remaining is the same for all these ordinances. Section 2, the altered speed, but this ordinance is effective at all times when appropriate signs giving notice of the altered speed limits are erected as required by law of Indiana 92156C. Any person violating the ordinance shall be subject to a $75 fine, according to ordinance 2018-31, which is hereby incorporated by reference. The operator shall be liable for any and all costs by Owen County for the prosecution of collective said fine, including but not limited to the court and attorney fees. Section 4, this ordinance supersedes all other ordinances and parts of ordinances which are conflict and hereby repealed. All prior ordinances and resolutions in conflict inconsistent hereby are expressly repealed. Section 5, severability. The various portions of this ordinance are considered severable. If any part or portion of this ordinance is held invalid by any court of competent jurisdiction, such holding or decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining provisions of the ordinance and shall remain in full force and effect. This ordinance will be in full force and effect immediately upon adoption and publication required by law, passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County, State of Indiana, on a regular meeting held on today's date of the month of 2021. Owen County Board of Commissioners, Gary Brewer, President, Robert Gray, Vice President, Delta Boyce, Commissioner, Sheila Reeves, Auditor, attesting. Again, ordinance 35 is for Bethesda Road, that is for 30 miles an hour. Ordinance 36 is for West Fall Creek at 30 miles an hour. And this would be the first reading.
Greg.
Commissioners, Ms. Whitinger is here. She has spoken with people on Bethsaida Road. It's the only road that I've really had complaint and concern with the new pavement. I asked her, I want her to speak to the folks that she has actually talked to in regard to that before you make your decisions and some of the things they want on Bethsaida Road.
Last week I spoke with a lady and she had concerns that there are multiple families with small children out there, so she'd like children to play out there. She said if you post it at 30, people will go 35, 40. I relayed that I understood. She would actually like it 20, 25, but I told her, it was not plausible, more than likely. We've had several calls for Bethsaida just this past week, wanting it to be lowered.
And I appreciate that, and I was gonna ask Greg the same thing. In the time that I've been here, every time that we pave these roads, that's an instant thing that happens, the phone rings and everybody calls in and they want us slowed down. I got that. And I respect that. Children at play, if there's a lot of families out there, I don't have a problem with that either. Don't want any children hurt. Definitely under our watch for sure. You guys have any comments on any of this stuff?
I thought she would be here today, but I don't. Oh, okay, she was here, but she left, so.
No, that's the lady that just left then probably.
Okay.
Well, I know that you called me almost the next day after this road was done and said you were getting complaints, so. Matter of fact, I think I relayed that to Bob in one of our conversations somewhere down the road, but.
And in regard to the roads that we paved, that is the one road that I have complaint and public, request and documentation on, Bethsaida.
Well, with that being said, we'll start with that one. Do I hear a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-35, an ordinance establishing a maximum speed limit on Bethsaida Road?
I approve that, or make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Jim, in regard to the children at play signs, that can be done in highway department discretion, is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah, and the commissioners have noted their approval of that, and those can just be set up, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And next up would be ordinance number 2021-36. Ordinance establishing maximum speed on West Fall Creek Road. I think this is the road that you had done here sometime back in the Bob off of
Yep.
Rocky Hill.
Yep. And goes through and ties on the Fish Creek.
Fish Creek.
West Fall Creek goes between Texas Pike and, Rocky Hill Road.
Rocky Hill Road, yeah.
This road does, gentlemen, so you know, it has two parts.
It's divided by Rocky Hill, is that correct?
Right, it's divided by Rocky Hill, but it does have two parts. Both parts of Fall Creek have been done. We refer to one as west, the other east. East Fall Creek is the dead end portion of that road. And it is marked with a speed limit of 15 miles an hour on
the dead end.
The old dead end sign, on the old dead end side of the road, so,
well,
when we talk about what you're talking about today would be the section between, Rocky Hill Road and Texas Pike.
Okay. So actually it's West Fall, not East.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Fall Creek has been done in its entirety, but East already has signage.
So do I hear a motion to approve? I've already read it once, but I'll read it again. Ordinance number 2021-36.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a second by Dale, all in favor?
Aye.
Does that take care of all of our new ordinances, Jim?
So now we're back to the three community crossing roads. And this will be the second reading of 29, 30, and 31 of Walden, Walrus, and Steubenville. A little bit of background, commissioners, there was originally ordinances for these three roads at 30 miles an hour. Those did not pass. So there was a first reading, 29, 30, and 31. I believe, if my recollection, it was a 2-to-1 vote. Ordinances have to be unanimous on a first reading. So these are up for a second reading, and these are all at 30 miles an hour, where the majority vote would rule. If for some reason, these would be voted down and it was that they were not approved, I have written other ordinances back to the 30 miles an hour, and then those would receive the numbers at 37, 38, and 39, but that's premature. So at this point, the only thing that I would have to read for the second reading is just the name of the road and the speed limit, because everything else has been read. So 29 is Steubenville Road, and that's established at a 40-mile-per-hour zone. 20-21-30 is Culver's Road, and that again is established at a 40-mile-an-hour zone. And then 21-31 is Walden Road, and this would probably be the second reading at a 40-mile-per-hour zone. So you were discussing and voting on the second reading, these three roads, but the speed limit on this reading is at 40 miles per hour.
Okay. And I've got a question on Walden Road. We have determined that that is in a school zone. Is that correct?
Walden Road is in a school zone, and there was not signage up to start with, which concerned me. I did do research. The the ordinance was there for a school zone, and signage is up. I'm just gonna say that I believe the farmers took them down.
Okay.
But they are up, and that zone is established.
Okay.
And that's 20-mile-an-hour zone,
It is.
children are present.
It is.
So it's even below the 30.
So it did exist. They were
Right.
just.
And that's during school hours from 8 to 3 or whatever, when children are present, I think, yeah. So we still need to establish a speed limit for the road or normal operating hours. Okay. Well, we'll start with ordinance number 2021-29 Steubenville Road. Do I hear a motion to approve at 40 mile an hour?
That's in your district?
That is in
My
the
district.
Your district.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Again, gentlemen, repeating, since this is a second reading, a 2-to-1 majority does carry. All of these stop sign and speed ordinances must be advertised 2 times.
There you go, Bob. There's that one. Okay. And I appreciate you asking that question. Okay, next is ordinance number 20. I don't sign that since I voted nay.
Oh, okay.
Trying to set me up there, wasn't you, Bob? Ordinance number 2021-30. This again is the second reading for Culross Road, a speed limit of 40 mile an hour. And to answer your question, yes, Dale, this is, or Bob, this is in my district. Do I hear a motion to approve? With no motion heard, it fails.
If so desired, I do have a Culver's Road prepared at 30 miles an hour. That would be ordinance number 37 if you want.
37.
So this is the first reading. However, this is identical to every single other road ordinance that you've heard, so this will be a first reading, but I just want to do the 4 areas. So this is ordinance number 2021-0037, an ordinance establishing the maximum speed on Colress Road. The Owen County Highway Department has received complaints regarding excessive speed on Colress Road, has conducted the required engineering and traffic investigation. Now be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County. Section 1, the maximum speed for Colress Road will be 30 miles per hour. Colress Road is located in an urban district in Owen County, Indiana. Section 2, 3, 4, 5, all but apply, has been previously read out loud in this meeting. This ordinance will be full force and effect upon its adoption and publication by law. If so, it will be passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County, State of Indiana, in a regular meeting held on today's date and month of 2021. Gary Bird, President, Robert Curry, Vice President, Del Du Bois, Commissioner, attested by Sheila Reeves. This is the first reading. The vote would have to be unanimous to take action upon this ordinance.
Thank you, Jim. All right, do I hear a motion for approval of ordinance number 2021-37, maximum speed limit on Colress Road?
At 30.
At 30.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Thank you, gentlemen. There's that, Bob. That puts us back to the second reading on ordinance number 2021-31, maximum speed of Walden Road at 40 mile an hour. And I'll wait for you guys to get that signed before we move forward.
Walden Road is 40, right?
That's what you guys approved last time. Yeah, this is gonna be the second reading. Does that stop, Walden comes off of Hartscrabble down to the school and ties into schooling?
It does. Hardscrabble actually, at Flatwoods, everything to the right and around the school is Walden, everything to the left would be schooling.
Schooling, okay, that's what I thought.
The school zone, does reach, because there is a goat farm out there that belongs to the school and children are there almost to the bridge, if you're all familiar.
Mhm.
And then to the 90-degree curve where it starts to straighten out.
Walden runs all the way to 46 and,
No, Walden runs all the way to Hardscrabble, but, the school zone encompasses between the two 90 degrees.
Yeah, where the T's right there, it goes to the right.
Yeah.
And you make an immediate 90 going up the hill back towards Hartscrabble.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's where your school zone's at.
Okay.
And it goes almost to that bridge. School zone goes down to the entrance to that goat farm that the FFA has.
Okay. Second reading and second vote for ordinance number 2021-31, maximum speed limit for Walden Road at 40 mile an hour. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Got a motion by Bob? Hearing none, it fails.
Okay, then, so 31 has been read twice, and it now fails for lack of second. So now we're, with your permission, we'll go to 38, 038. Now this is again Walden Road, so this will be the first reading, ordinance number 2021-038. An ordinance establishing a maximum speed limit on Walden Road. The Board of Commissioners desire to maintain its streets under its jurisdiction, safe, secure, and dangerous traffic patterns. Owen County Highway Department has received complaints regarding excessive speed on Walden Road and has conducted the required engineering and traffic investigations and reported such in this meeting. Now therefore be it ordained by the Owen County Board of Commissioners as follows. Section 1, the maximum speed limit of Walden Road will be 30 miles per hour, 30. Walden Road is located outside of an urban district in Owen County. Sections 2, 3, 4, and 5 have been previously read out loud in this open meeting and remain the same. This ordinance will be in full force and effect immediately after its adoption, publication by law.
We'll go down.
Passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County, State of Indiana, regular meeting held on today's date and month of 2021. Owen County Board of Commissioners, Gary Burton, President, Robert Curry, Vice President, Calvin Boyce, Commissioner, Sheila Reeves, Auditor. So first reading on 2021-38.
38, okay, it is 38. This has got a tab on it. I've got one here that, did that last one go through?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out here in a minute. Okay. Ordinance number 2021-38, establishing a maximum speed limit for Walden Road at 30 mile an hour. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Dale. I will second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Okay. I'm gonna give you both these, Bob, so we don't, both of those go together. Somewhere we've lost a signature page, Sheila, so we'll have to figure it out, or maybe to the second one of the readings too. That's what I'm hoping. I know what it's for. It's for this stupid bill that was for 30. So, yeah, that can go there. If I'm not mistaken, Jim, I believe that covers all of our ordinances.
Ordinances, oh, yeah, that's, I think there were 8 today and they've all been resolved.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Oh, did we do the one about the underground cables? We already signed that one, didn't we? This is just my copy. Okay.
Commissioner Jim, worked with Jim in regard to our annual bids. We need to get those sent out to our vendors because I would like for y'all to be able to open them in December. So we know, so we can move forward in January. We ran into this one year and Jim's advice is if we do not have vendors pick for our yearly bids, I'm not to buy product. So it's time and it's pressing.
Jim, what you have, you have the 2021 packet from last year. You have that in its entirety.
At the office.
Okay, so what I've done is just updated the bidder's instructions, the notice of solicitation for annual bids, prepared a cover sheet for the actual bid packets. They range from 1 to 6. You would be approving the submission for advertising and then the release of these bids for November 10th. So today is our meeting for November 1st of 2021. If you approve the sending out and the solicitation of bids, the first publication notice must be November 10th of 2021. No bid should even be physically given prior to that date. So that's the date of advertising, and then that would be the date that they can be handed out. There's a second publication on November 24th of 2021. Both must be advertised in the paper of record of Owen County. Then you would open and review the bids on December 6th of 2021, at the Board of Commissioners meeting at 9 o'clock. The 6 categories, Category 1 is aggregates, Category 2 is bituminous mixtures, Category 3 is culverts, Category 4 is the guardrail and post, Category 5 is the fuel, is the gasoline and diesel, and Category 6 is motor oil and lubricants. All of these are, have to be solicited or advertised as fit for the entire year, so all prices are firm for the entire year. And then all bids are for use, of course, for Owen County. There would be a solicitation, there's a notice of bidders packet, there's an addendum that they must sign, all that's been prepared. So this would be the identical bid packet of 2021, the identical categories with the updated dates for the advertisement and the cover pages.
And are these bid packets available both through highway and auditor's office?
They can be. They're
I want to establish that now before we run into a problem down the road. And I think we got into this, if I'm not mistaken, at some point, somebody didn't get a bid packet and they didn't know where to pick it up,
No,
so.
they definitely should be available at the highway department and also at the auditor's office. They have to go to the auditor and they'll be in a sealed envelope and they should be marked category 1 through 6. Rachel, for the execution, the highway auditor's office, then would need the actual packet and the addendum with the new head cover sheets. And I believe I did send a copy to the auditor as far as the notice of solicitation for the annual bids, and that's what will be published in the paper.
Jim, I do have one concern, and just looking these over this morning, commissioners, this may take another category, and I hate to spring this on you, but the price of difference between plastic and steel right now, there are companies that just deal in plastic culverts, thinking that we could hinder ourselves on the better price if we don't ask for separate bids between plastic and steel culverts. Because it kind of happened to us last year when we put the bid out. E3 Bridge actually got the bid that they were higher on plastic than we could have got them somewhere else.
Okay.
But they were cheaper on the steel, so we went with E3 Bridge. So my concern, plastic being up 300% now,
It looks like to me, just looking at this, and Jim, you'll correct me, I'm sure, but we've got culverts as category 3.
That's correct.
I would, and it doesn't specify steel or plastic, but it does say culverts. I would tell your people when they're getting a bid packet, we need a bid packet or a bid price on plastic separate from steel.
Permissible, Jim.
It still falls in the culvert.
Look, because we have until the 10th to have these completely ready. So we could do either or. Ideally, if we had in category 3, the culverts, 1 for plastic and 1 for steel. If that doesn't look like it would go up there, if you just make a minute, we would just add a category 7. So we have category 3 culvert steel, category 7 culverts plastic. But I think if we can just do plastic and steel under 3, but we've got 9 days to actually get this completely executed.
Okay, well, so we can play with that, but I understand what you're saying, Greg.
Okay.
And then commissioners, besides the yearly bids, and I know you need to vote on them, I spoke to Jim, I would like to bid my low boy and heavy wrecker service out yearly. I think we'll get a better price that way if we do that. That business world right now is extremely competitive, so I think it would behoove us to do that. But Jim said that didn't quite fit the yearly bids, but it could be something that we do. So I would ask that you
Probably a good idea.
consider that, and
I think it would be, to have everything ready, realistically, it'd be the 15th. There would still be time for the request for proposals for the year. But I don't think they match. These are all, in essence, products, supplies, would be a better word. And then this is a service request. So I would like to keep those separate if we can. But I think we could, by the 15th meeting, have that packet ready for the request for bids for the wrecker service for the year. You have what kind of basically light, medium, heavy is general terms.
light, medium, heavy, and low boy.
Low boy, okay, so it'd be 4 categories. I think that we could have that done by the 15th.
That sounds like a good idea. Gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and ask for approval to put out these bids for the 6 categories that we have presently. We can continue to work on 7 or leave 3 like it is and break it down when we pass out those bid packets. Do I hear a motion to approve to send out bid packets for the highway, category 1 aggregates, 2 bituminous mix, 3 culverts, 4 guardrail and post, 5 gasoline, diesel, and kerosene, 6 motor oils and lubricants? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Bob. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I agree, Greg, the sooner we get these out, and that way we're not stuck. I think it was last year we ran into where do you buy stuff, right? Something like that. Yeah.
So it's the notice of solicitation that goes in the paper.
Yes, yeah, it says notice of solicitation of annual bid, that's the one.
Okay. And you said gasoline, diesel, and kerosene. Is kerosene supposed to be on there too?
I don't know that we use any kerosene to put in beds, maybe, I don't know, but
We do, we have our hot box runs off of kerosene, we have a kerosene tank. Kerosene's only used during the winter, but it is
so there you go.
delivered.
And again, I think I mentioned it in the minutes earlier that these bid packets would be passed out through the highway and the auditor's office, so.
Yeah, on category 5, gasoline and diesel, there's a dyed K1 kerosene is one of the items.
Like I said, mine says kerosene on mine, so that's why I read it.
Mine doesn't. Kerosene, okay.
You want my copy?
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Actually, okay, yours says bidder's instruction, is that the one you're looking at?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I have the solicitation one.
Solicitation
is the one that goes in the
Solicitation is what
paper.
goes in the paper, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I was reading off the bidders, yes. Okay.
I have two other things, and one thing, commissioners, and I'm just gonna throw this out to you. I don't think the two new commissioners have heard this pitch, but Commissioner Burton has. I know it's not something we can do immediately, but I've been to the council twice to ask for the fuel monitoring system, the same as the EMS and the sheriff's department has got, and that has never seemed to work out. Gentlemen, it's a good way to track what we're using, it's a good way to track what machines it is, it's a good way to make sure we don't have any theft. Not saying we do, but it's a good way to say we don't. If we've got that, and each person swipes a card into the machine in which they're using. I'm sure that commissioners have different thoughts of what we might need at the garage, but out of our equipment this year, I would like for us to put that on our list at some time, and if Commissioner DuBois and Curry would like to come out and say, I mean, I'm just using the regular old pumps, but it's the honor system. And the girls keep track of this, and it's what the guys write down, and it helps me monitor machines, what it's using, if it's using too much, do I think this guy's using too much fuel for this, if this truck's using this, so where's that fuel going, et cetera. I think it's, would be something to put on our list, and it's about probably now a $12,000 item. But I'm not gonna come to you and ask for a whole list of stuff next year, but I believe that is, something that I would like for y'all to consider.
In other words, what you're after, a guy goes by his house driving a truck, you don't want him siphoning out, putting in his pickup.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And with the card swipe system, that's what the EMS and the sheriff department uses. Every employee's got an ID in that vehicle and so on. And I'm a big supporter of it. It falls right in line with time management and everything else that we should be doing that hasn't been done over the years. That has cost this county hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I say that in sincerity. So again, for that kind of price, I think that we need to concentrate on trying to get that together.
I think that in the long run, we'll save money.
Oh, yeah.
One thing, did you do the counter on Stoops Road yet?
Yes, we put the counter out, guys, and I was gonna bring this up to Commissioner DuBois asked us to put a counter out on Stoops Road. We typically, what we do is we put them out, we monitor them every day, and then we do a week's count, and then we bring it back to the next commissioners meeting. I do assign a person to do that, so if the other two commissioners have any other roads you would like to count while we're counting Stoops, let me know what they are, and I'll have that report for y'all by the next meeting.
What happened there when you guys did Goose Creek Road? it made it so nice to come to town on. So, like a big swarm that come from south of Patricksburg, north of, over to, White Springs Road. Then goes through Stew's Road, that's only 8/10 of a mile
Yes,
to get a real good road. So things has changed out there. I'm not for blacktop and gravel roads, always been gravel, but that's changed.
it has, a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of that real quick, and then I know we're all wanting to get out of here, and I spoke with Greg about that same issue. In the last 3 years, I've and I showed Greg on a map, got a quadrant of the roads that's been in my district. I'm trying to eliminate some gravel roads, and I think we're down to 3 in that area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
The expense of these graders are huge, and if we can get it to where we can eliminate one of these graders for the whole county, I think it's something that we need to look at. So when these opportunities come up with either cold mix or millings, that we can thin out some of these gravel roads and cut that expense down on that grader. I seriously think we need to take a look at it.
I'm thinking what, the roads, the better they're maintained and get them up in shape, the longer they'll last before they need a grader again.
Right.
That's what we gotta do them right to start with, and they'll last a lot longer.
And Greg, you can tell me different, that's your job, but I just think if we can eliminate some of these expenses, again, if we put millings on a road, we're not touching it for 5, 6 years, maybe 7, we're hoping, we don't know that for sure. But that's greater, you're not dragging all around the county either.
That's correct. Off the road subjects, gentlemen, then I will leave you alone, but I informed Commissioner Burton, we have a huge problem at the garage, we have mold. The girls complained about, being sick, and then, we had a flooding issue, the maintenance man came out, looked at it, we're gonna put in a perimeter drain ourselves, that's not a problem, but, there's a bathroom in that building that, not a bathroom, a shower in that building, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I've been there since 2018 and didn't know it existed because it sits full of tailgates off of pickup trucks that, we have stored back there, but, the mold starts there, throughout my office and in the walls where the building is flooded. The former maintenance man had us put gravel around the building, and to try to keep the water away. And, after this inspection, Garland believes, pull it away, and, Gary and I spoke and looked at it with the perimeter drain, we can get the water away from the building. But until then, I have to figure out what to do inside that office.
And I haven't had a chance to talk to you, I did speak to Garland on that, and I apologize for this. Brick Wall, the health department got in my way. He said that he is going to repair all that himself, he's gonna cut the drywall out, replace it, so we're gonna do that in-house, because I did tell him to call Service Master and have him get out there and take a look at it, and he said he thinks he can fix it. So I'm gonna at least try to keep costs down, we're gonna have him go in there and cut that out and see what he's dealing with.
Okay.
So that was the conversation that I had with him. I know he's been over there helping them move out of there, but he ought to be on that soon, so. Okay?
All right.
And a quick question for you while we got you here. Have they started on your camera project out there yet?
No.
They have not? Okay, I'll follow up on that. Is that it?
That's it.
Kathleen?
All right. So just pretty quick here. We did have a new employee start today, so he is in the office. He will be going to night shift starting this weekend to do his on-shift training. I'm sure you guys heard during the council meeting, I had put out 2 offers for employment to 2 different people. The one that started today was one of those. I heard on Friday, I called the second person, and they declined the offer. So they went through the process, got an offer of employment, and then declined due to pay. because it's a several dollar pay cut from where she currently is at to, come over to our current position. I did have a conversation with her that I'm looking into, on Monday, presenting a, presentation for an increase in pay to dispatch. And if that is something that, if dispatch is something she would still be interested in, I would reach back out to her after the first of the year, because I'm going to have a vacancy at the end of November. Because I did get the official 30-day notice from the one employee, and her last day is going to be Thanksgiving Day. So, depending on how some things go, I'm gonna be opening up another hiring process. So that's staffing, and where it is, it's where it's always been. The radio project that we started working on at the beginning of the summer, I heard from J&K the end of last week, and all of our equipment has come in. They currently have it, and it's being staged, I believe, in Columbia City. What we are working on now is the FCC license and everything for the new tower that's going to be out there. Since we're implementing a new system, we have to have another radio frequency, which causes the FCC to be involved and to have an FCC license. The FCC license for that is going to fall under the dispatch center, and it'll come in my name because it has to be in a person's name, but it will belong to the dispatch center. One conversation that we have had in my advisory board meetings is all of the radio channels that are currently used for public safety fall under different entities. So the law channel is currently held by the sheriff's department. EMS has an FCC license for a channel, and so on and so forth. What the goal is in getting dispatch the FCC license is then pulling all of those individual license to then be controlled by the communication center. Because to me, that is the only thing that makes sense. We now have an independent communication center. That way, if, I'm not saying it has happened or will happen, but if the sheriff forgets to submit the paperwork to so their FCC license doesn't expire, that way we don't lose the channel, because the day it expires, if they don't have the paperwork, we lose that channel. It goes back to the state and anybody can buy for it. So that is something that we're working at doing, because I would just like to have all of that stuff under dispatch. So that way we're not getting notices and the potential for somebody else to drop the ball. If the ball gets dropped, then it would be my fault, not me waiting on someone else, so.
Good idea.
I believe that's about all that I have.
Kathleen, I'm gonna, if these two gentlemen here do not know, because they weren't at the council meeting, she has asked to use her own funds to give, to raise the rate of hire, and pay rate for the current employees out of her own budget. I support that. She's got the funds. The thing of it is, once she does that, that money is gone. It's to those employees, so it will make her tighten her budget up probably even more if a situation arises. May or may not have the funds, but she also has a staffing problem due to our pay rate. So she is taking that going to take it to the council again. I think she brought it up at the last meeting. So just so you guys are aware, that's she's supported by the PSAP tax, so doesn't affect the general fund or any other departments. Just wanted to bring that up while you were here.
Yeah, so I have already submitted that paperwork to Sheila. I have a few other things that are possibly gonna be coming in that I'm hoping to get by the end of the day Tuesday, so I can get those to Sheila so she can send it out as a package as a whole. But yeah, I think we have good justification and reasoning and everything, so it just depends on what the council says. So I believe that's about it. One thing I know that you were involved in with IT. We are still currently receiving that monthly IoT bill from the state to obtain access into IDAX. IT came out several times. We've talked with them. I've gotten Jim and the guy from state police to try to communicate with each other, and we're still pushing down the road with nothing being done. So I still have that monthly fee. It's not a whole lot every month, but it's still something that comes out of my contract services that, it would be nice to not have to pay it, especially if we have the equipment that supports everything that we needed to do already, so.
I'll check into that with him, and if I need to get involved personally, I will. We'll get that taken care of.
It kind of gets started and then it stops, and then.
And I'll tell you why that happens.
Once I
is-
kick up a little bit more, then it gets started again.
Right. As things do all the time, they get bounced from here to there. We got a catastrophe at the health department. I gotta get everybody out there. I gotta move Wi-Fi and internet and phone. I mean, it's something every week somewhere. So not that that's an excuse, it needs to be taken care of. So I'll make that call today.
Okay. So that is about all I have.
All right.
You guys have anything for me? So,
Dale, no?
all right.
Greg's got something else.
Sorry, gentlemen, I had so much that I missed something. We, tomorrow, will be, laying with the paver the final cap on, Pine Lake, where we had some millings come up. But the reason I tell you that, when we're done tomorrow, the paver will go into storage. So the new commissioners know, the paver always goes to the fairgrounds. We store our pavers and our rollers at the fairgrounds. And we supply them dirt when they need, some for fill, and then, during their tractor pull, my guys will volunteer, and we supply the roller, to roll their arena during that, point in time, kind of a trade out, instead of paying for the storage. So that's, after tomorrow, the paver and 2 rollers will be stored at the fairgrounds for the season.
So if you get that call for a spot pave, it will not happen.
But that's fairgrounds. Pine Lake. No.
You're still on the list.
We have a spot that was just recently paved, and they left an edge of about 2 inches tall. It makes for a nice crack when you go across it.
Greg, go out there and take a look at it for you. He's aware
It's
of
one of
it.
those deals where we finished Locust Lake, we had some extra asphalt, I need to take the, hole patcher out and make a little bit better approach to it.
There you go,
Yeah,
sir.
that's what it meant.
All right, Sheila.
Were we supposed to do anything with the AGCO finance lease agreement?
No, I mean, that's in this information.
Okay.
There was a contract that went out in 2018. No one here was a commissioner. The superintendent was not the superintendent. Auditor was not the auditor. But in any case, it's a lease for it, from memory, in the range of around $21,000 per year. It's a 5-year lease. There's an area that's very clear for sales and use tax, that if there is an area where there's an exemption that either provided from the auditor's office or from the assessor's office, that there would be no sales or use tax on there. And that contract says 0. The problem is that, and it is, some contracts do, when it's property, there's a question of who is going to pay the property tax. This particular contract was written that the highway department would pay the property tax. It would be, AGCO Finance would file all the paperwork. It's probably even unclear what state, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure what state, because the finance is out of Iowa. So I'm not sure where it was filed, because I haven't seen that bill. But then they file it, and then they submit the bill to the Owen County Highway Department to pay the property tax. Failure to pay the property tax, the way the agreement was written was the highest interest in law, allows them the ability to make the profit, all of these type of things were in the clauses in that particular contract. But in any case, the way that it is written, unless Owen County does have some exemption, barring them from paying any type of property tax, which is probably not, that it is owed. I think this is kind of carried on maybe a year and a half, or maybe even longer.
That thing's fell in my hand, I know at least 3 or 4 times, and I was told that we do not pay property tax at the county level.
Right.
And Jim, that's one of the reasons, and I appreciate you bringing this up, I have asked, and it's very important, that we are up to date on our contracts, that the commissioners have those, you have those, anything going on at the highway, and it's not just the highway, it's countywide, because what happened here previously, these are the kind of things that bite us in the hind end when it's all said and done. So, yeah, I thank you for that.
That's the kind of the research of where it's at. I don't know, as far as the assessor has a property tax exemption that can be presented, but I do know at this point, the way that it's written, the longer that it's not resolved, it does open the county up to possible late fees and higher interest fees.
And I know of 2 years that it's been shut down the road because.
Well, I don't believe, Commissioner, so you know, the contention of the other auditor was, or the prior auditors, we don't pay property tax. So I know the machine was bought in 2018, but I can tell you that it has not been paid.
And I personally have asked that question at the assessor's office, and they've told me the same thing. But as Jim said, apparently there should be a form or something for that exemption.
Basically, what has happened with it, it has been passed from the highway department to the auditor to the assessor, then to the county attorney, and then it makes it
comes back to me.
and then you get it. So it's made it cycle back, but it appears somewhere to the tune of about $3,400 we owe because it's been passed back and forth.
So should I request from the assessor?
I think it would, at this point, would be if the assessor has this exemption, and it is clear, and it's their position that this, Owen County does not pay the property taxes. The point I would be that, just so everyone is very clear, this isn't sales tax or use tax. AGO is not even requesting that we pay sales tax, that's never part of it. This is the property. And there are some companies that put that in as a rental payment. So instead of just simply saying it's $22,500 a year, oh no, it's $21,000, but by the way, here's another $1,500 payment that comes in. But that there are 2 clear sections in the contract stating that Owen County would pay the property tax.
Okay. And again, Sheila, in your spare time, whenever you get all the contracts together.
I actually think, Jim, you're right, the finance company is out of Iowa, but I think the property taxes are owed in Illinois.
Okay, so it involves 3 states.
3 states.
Okay.
And I'm sure if Jim would have been here during that time, we wouldn't have this discussion right now. Jim, do you have anything?
Not at all, nothing.
I do have one more.
Sheila's got one more.
Council has called a work session on November the 29th to review the wage study that was done last year. They're requesting the commissioners and department heads, elected officials attend as well. And that's at 6 o'clock on the 29th.
6 o'clock on the 29th of November.
Dale, you have anything?
Nope.
Is that all, Sheila? I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. Bob, how about you?
Nope.
The only thing I have, just a quick update, I have a structural engineer that will be here in town out of Indianapolis this afternoon. He's supposed to be here roughly about 4 o'clock. So anybody here that wants to meet him, I'm gonna try to be there, Garland, for the health department wall. We've done a temporary, evacuation of the COVID clinic because of this. We're gonna get an answer, yay or nay, it's safe, it's not safe, and figure out what we need to do. But hopefully we'll have that answer by sometime this afternoon. So giving everybody a quick update on that. Don't like to disrupt business if we have to, and unfortunately we had a situation there that required that. So other than that, that's all I have. Ernie, good to see you.
Thank you.
Hope the wife's doing better.
She is. We've been home 5 days now. Convalescing after 6 weeks in hospital, so
Been a long haul.
it's a damn long haul.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
No, I may have an issue.
Oh, you do? Okay, I thought we were just casually conversation there.
Visit, yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
You know, the panic. Friday, I received a call from a desperate housewife, I guess you could call it. Anyway, this person was directed by Commissioner Burton to contact me And apparently, at QNOT Center, we've had a mass exodus of all the people that are involved up there in management and the board of directors. So, I gave this person as much information as I could possibly come up with for saving that location. That location is very important to the north part of the county. Now, everything on the other side of 67 going up towards Gosport is a Mason-Dixon line for everything that happens in this county. We get no recognition, so I need help here. And the help being that, not financially at this time, because I'm gonna chase some more avenues on the financing, but we need direction, we need some management up there. I was appointed to the board by Vandemore some 10 years ago and served it for about 6, and then I couldn't stay because no one wanted me on that advisory board. I asked for accountability all the time I was involved with that. Reese Nichols was in charge of it before I came on board. He passed, and it became an open season. That location used to do about $140,000 a year on gambling, on taking in that gross. Now, they saved about $40,000. Don't know where that money went, but it disappeared. We've tried to keep local people involved as far as managing and the board of directors, and it doesn't seem to work very well. Accountability is a big problem. We have a food pantry there right now. I'm not sure, I haven't been able to get a hold of the manager of that to know if it's still operational. They do every Wednesday, hand out food to the locals and anybody else that needs it. That's an important. Your involvement with this is dispatch. There's nothing up there for you guys anymore. You used to be able to use it for lunch work, to have kids go in after school. If there was any reportings of child molestation or on that order, that's not available to us anymore. I can't answer to, I know this lady has helped me, or has shared with me the idea that all this management up there resigned. I don't know who has the keys for it anymore, but we need to get a handle on that.
Well, Ernie, would you have the slightest idea who was last in charge up there, or any kind of contact name or information?
Well, she walked out and does not want to be
She's hiding, okay.
contacted or anything else. There's some accountability that has to happen there. There's some money that needs to be found. And I can't answer, I don't know how much it is, who has it, where it went. I don't know that answer. That location is an old school. That used to be the QNOT schoolhouse. And the county rents it from school district now for $1 a year. At least when I was on the board, that's what the fee was. I don't know if that contract is being extended or it's in failure. I contacted the power company this morning that supplies power over there. They have been paid up to date. Let me see my notes here. It was paid October 15th, and we're good till the 19th of this month. So I don't know. They're not gonna shut the power off. And once I get some handles on things, I'll see if we can't get an emergency laid out to save the power, because we need the power for the food chain, shelter, freezers and refrigerators that need to be protected.
Did the gal that I had call you, she was interested in being on this board, or?
I can't reach her.
Okay. She called me all enthusiastic and I had no idea, so I sent her to you.
We spent probably an hour and 10 minutes on the phone. And I gave her a bunch of names, and I've been trying to reach her since, and I can't seem to get them hooked up.
Okay.
I got 2 phone numbers for her, and they don't get answers, so. I have an accomplice helping me out on this, and Baron Barnett, which is an issue with this operation. He's giving me a handle. He lives in Jackson County and he's only about 3 miles from that location, so.
To me, I don't know about you guys, but this would be a good opportunity for Barron to get involved in local county government.
Yep.
I think he should run that.
Well, he's been running for about 18 years and can't get elected, so. He's been appointed by previous commissioners to go out and study things, but it's been a while. I think Truesdale was the last guy that appointed him.
I got a brother-in-law who lives across the road down, in fact, go down to the boat docks.
Yep,
He's the last house on the left,
okay.
named Bob Cummins. Okay,
Is he?
go down and talk to him and you probably get a lot of help off of him since he retired.
Okay, do you have a phone number?
No, I don't have his phone number.
Okay.
Just go down there. He's home most of the time.
All right,
He'll volunteer for about anything you need done.
okay.
I'm sure he will.
You speak for your brother. He won't seek you out to destroy you, will he?
Have you spoke with Gandy?
I'm sorry?
Have you spoke with Gandy Parish? Gandy Parish?
Is she still the
She has been involved recently
Jackson
because she's.
Township
Yes.
trustee? Okay,
And
Paris?
Yes, and it's my understanding that the building was given to them from the school. She's the last person in just the last month that I've talked with, and she's helping Sue Nichols and Richard Lorenz. So you might check with,
Okay, I've spoken with her before and I know her, so I'll pass that on. That building is used for after-school sanctions for kids coming off school bus or whatever, waiting for parents to pick them up or just going home, so it's pretty important that way. Also, they furnish clothing for the kids that are short. There's an internet service up there and a hotspot for the kids, and that's, if the power goes off, that's gonna be gone too, and I'm not sure who we have to contact to get that, maintain that. I'm sure there's a fee for that. Let's see.
You know, we need to get access to that building, it sounds like, to get any
Right.
kind of records that are available.
Right. I'm going to contact, with your approval, the townships up there, Jackson, Jennings, and Taylor. And there's one unit over in the next county that uses that location as well. But I want to approach them for emergency funding. I mean, they give it out to people that live up in that area, there's no reason why we can't get some funding from them as well to support this thing. It is part of the community, it's part of the townships.
Trustees ought to be able to help in some way or the other.
I would think so, I would think so. Now, I know we have deputies that use that location in the evening or through the afternoon and hook up over there, and I think they tap into the internet service or whatever else they need from that location. And it's important to maintain them up there when this building is empty, because we've got a lot of issues.
It's a rough area.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have here? I think that's probably it. I got a couple of good leads here to help me out. Now, are they on the tax roll or is that tax exempt?
I'm assuming it's gonna be tax exempt. You might check with the assessor's office on your way out. I think that we've got about a little over 1,000 properties in this county that are exempt, which I was absolutely shocked by that number, but.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
And we're short on money, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've got your number, Ernie, and I'll do whatever I can.
Okay.
I was hoping that this gal that I sent you was
Yeah.
gonna jump right in and take over, but if you can't get a hold of her, it may be tough.
Yeah, I got other issues, but I wanna save this thing. I put a lot of effort in it over the years, and it's getting accountability. Just people that can be accounted for, and where the money goes. You know, it's very important.
It is.
And for that community too, it's not the attractiveness of the community, it's the service of the community that we need. I think that's all I got on that issue. The other one is the tax collection, cutting the hour back. you're gonna have a lot of delinquents taxing, collecting. Half hour means that they had to take an hour and a half off from work to go pay their taxes. I'm sorry, that's one issue. The other one is, I don't know where the meeting notices go. There's probably less than 5% that get the local paper that isn't local.
Yeah, and it only comes out once a
Posted
week.
now.
Sheila will have to answer that question.
You want me to put you on the email list?
That would be
The
fine,
agendas?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, as well as other community meetings, no one knows about.
Yeah, papers just really let us down
You
here.
know, we don't have a community calendar that you can get on the internet and find. In fact, the last minutes of this meeting are somewhere in November of 19 issue. Thank you for your help, whatever it is.
Thank you, Ernie. We'll see what we can do up there. Appreciate you being involved. Now, motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
I'll like that.
I'm standing here. Any more?
No, I'm done.
Oh, you're done.
I'm not letting him talk anyway.
Well, you did an hour and 20.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your help, guys.
I'll send you anything I can, Ernie.
All right.
I know at one time that was used for a vote center up there, and I think that they've rejected that even. It's not even used anymore. They go to the church up there, if I'm not mistaken.
I talked to them yesterday.
I got that high. I just keep stacking them up.
Yeah.
The
Just toss them.
last secretary is Linda
Should have been in the coma.
Rushton. And she's not willing to come back. Just,
Go take a whole new crew then, isn't it? All right.
There's last Thursday.
Like I said, I'll do what I can to help you. I hope that